So today is all about renewals. So we're going to help refuel your renewals. Today is a workshop, so that means we are going to be hands-on in PropFuel. So a couple things that we would just ask and some general expectations. If you can and you feel comfortable doing so, we'd love to see some faces. It helps us engage and help better collaborate. We can see when you are looking like you're maybe confused. We can see when you're happy. When Dave doesn't land his dad joke, we can totally see it. So those are always great moments. But all jokes aside, we also just ask that everyone kind of participate together here. The more that you all share from what you're doing and ask the questions that you've maybe been lingering on, the more that we can gather some insight from the general audience as well as us here at PropFuel.
Hey,
So go ahead, Dave.
Brett, I didn't think I was going to enjoy watching Dirty Dancing, but as it turns out, I had the time of my life.
Nah.
See, and this is, but
You prompted it. You said you
I
wanted a dad
know.
joke. That's what I heard.
Oh, thanks. I'm not sure. Jay Worsley, thank you. You did my, but love it. All right, so with Dave's dad joke aside, back to the topic at hand here. But like I said, this is fun. It's meant to be an active group. Workshop is meant to be where you can come learn a little bit more about maybe a component of PropFuel that you haven't utilized yet. Or in today's case, right, refresh that renewal campaign that is getting ready for those December 31 expiration dates. So beyond that, just if you can, please have your PropFuel account open and ready. So as we're kind of walking through the initial setup, we'll kind of guide you as to what we're going to be doing in our breakout sessions. But then in those breakout sessions, it's definitely going to be hands-on. So we would like you to be in your PropFuel account, ideally working on that campaign. And then at the end of it all, we just ask for a little bit of respect and collaboration. So, if somebody has a comment they'd like to share, we ask that you just maybe yes and, or maybe kind of help kind of continue that conversation and let's see if we can all help each other out here at the end of the day. So with that, any final thoughts or questions before we jump right in? We're excited everyone's here. Got a good group. All right. So, what we're going to be going over today is we're going to start with a general overview of the membership lifecycle. We've got a little infographic that we'd like to use and kind of refer back to here at PropFuel. So we'll take a look at that and showcase kind of what that looks like in regards to how the renewal process fits into it all. We'll talk about continuing the engagement. So once you have that renewal locked in, what happens thereafter? We'll discuss building from blueprints. Hopefully, for most of you, this is going to be kind of an easy breeze through topic, but some of you might still not have built anything from a blueprint. So we want to just make sure you know the steps to do that. For those of you that have existing renewal campaigns, we'll also go over what it looks like to copy a campaign from the past. And then lastly, we'll go into our breakout sessions where we'll have the breakout rooms respective to different groups, and our client success managers will be working with you all to help build out those renewal campaigns. So with that, our team of client success managers that we have today, I think everyone's on. Clara, we've got Ashley, Meg, Dave, our CEO here is with us, and then Bruna, we cannot forget about Bruna. Many of you have hopefully had the pleasure of working with Bruna. She is our client success coordinator, and we couldn't do what we do without her. She is literally sometimes the backbone, what keeps us all together and keeps us on track. So, shout out to Bruna. Yeah, everyone give shout outs to Bruna in the chat. We love her. All right, cool. So let's talk about the membership timeline. So like I said, some of you might have seen this infographic. We do really like to kind of lean into this, not only because it highlights the value of understanding. It's not always about the retention piece or the engagement. That's kind of all looped in together. And so as you work your way around this timeline, you're going to notice it's cyclical, right? So in the bottom right-hand corner, obviously we'll get to the renewal phase. But there's a lot that goes into the membership lifecycle before we even get to that first renewal. Or ideally, as years go on, year two, year three, four. I talked to some of my clients who are like, yeah, we have members that have been members for like 30 years, right? And it happens. Should you be less engaged with those 30 plus year members than you are with your first year members? I'm not going to say no, but I definitely think we should always I can't talk. Continue to consider, shouldn't have used those two words together, continue to consider engagement at all levels of the membership life cycle. So kind of starting from I guess the start here, we could say awareness and recruitment. So getting those members, those individuals to join the organization, and then making sure you're actually engaging with them throughout that first year. So make sure you have a clear value prop that you can let them know, hey, you joined as a member. What do you need? Asking those questions. What do you need as a member? And then leading them to the resources that you all have available that would best support them in what they're looking for. There's many other engagement opportunities throughout that first year for sure, and obviously through many years thereafter. Maybe you have events, maybe you have webinars that you want to highlight. Regardless, there's going to be multiple engagement opportunities throughout that first year so that by the time that renewal does come around, it's less of a beg, borrow, and plead for them to hand over some more money and hand over that renewal. It's more of I have no reason to not continue my membership here. And I need to continue my membership because this organization has been a valued resource for me in my career. And then it doesn't end there, right? Because once they have renewed, you want to make sure they keep coming back year after year. So continuing to find that value for that member and making sure that they feel listened to and connected with. So I'll pause there for a second. Any general thoughts on kind of the membership timeline? Does anyone think of the timeline maybe in a different way than kind of we have it laid out here? Any key components that you all use that we might not?
A question.
Yeah, go for it, Dion.
So it would be really helpful to us too if, for those of us that have the timelines on a rotating schedule, so I have January members, February members, and so forth, a little bit more specifics about what dates you'd recommend for certain things. Just maybe with the post after we get the stuff back from here, a detailed timeline to kind of cookie cutter it for someone like me is helpful.
Yeah, are you talking about specifically like as it relates to an engagement campaign, like the touch points from there? Okay.
Like in this cycle, this is kind of, I know it says new renewing member engagement. So this would be maybe 1 to 3 months and then, you know, where this is in the rotation.
Yeah, and so that's going to be one of those components of the renewal cycle. Every organization is going to run renewals a little differently, right? So whether you're enrolling contacts at 60 days ahead of renewal, or maybe it's 90 days ahead of renewal, that's going to kind of factor into the cycle of the renewal and then probably into that lapsed win back as well. So just kind of keeping that in mind. But we can certainly see what ways we can maybe integrate some of those timelines respective to the main components that we have here within this infographic. Appreciate the site there. And then Ashley just dropped a desk article. Ashley, which one was that?
Yeah, so that is the renewal campaign blueprint. So that not blueprint, I'm sorry, campaign guide. So that might also be helpful, Dion. It kind of goes into not only how you build the campaign, but the strategy behind it, including like timing and everything.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you so much, Dion, for asking the question. Anything else from anyone else here? Any other good thoughts or questions? All right. So they've renewed. I love this GIF. Now what? This is one of my favorites. Something about this scene in the movie just always like strikes a chord with me. So yeah, like they've renewed. Now what are you gonna do? So you've got them to take the action. They've gone and they renewed their membership, and now they're sitting in, a little plastic bag in the middle of the ocean, and they're just asking, well, now what? So how are we gonna continue that conversation from that renewal point forward? So want to kind of poll the audience. We'd love to hear from you all. We've got about maybe 5-ish minutes to chat through some of these topics. So general, how are you currently engaging after your renewals? And or what would you like to know from your renewed members after they have renewed? Any thoughts or ideas around either of those two questions? And if you aren't engaging, feel free to let it out. Sometimes letting out that the admission of not engaging your members is okay.
Can I jumpstart maybe, and
Go
then
for it,
we
Dave.
can tack on after this?
Yeah.
A long time ago, I worked with ASAE in helping them set up what we called a new and renewing campaign. And we did it that way because we were lazy. But lazy sometimes is okay. Another word for lazy is efficient. And so what we did is instead of having just a new member campaign, we set up a campaign that was that would work for anyone that was renewing or joining. So the very first question that came on, instead of saying, hey, why did you join? It was, what's something we can help you with as you explore your ASAE membership this year? And then it give a few options, or what's something you're working on? And so I've also seen other organizations do a year 2 engagement campaign. So they do have a new member onboarding, which is very specific to new members, but then year 2 starts with, how can we help you in your journey this year? How can we help you in your career this year?
Yeah, great. And then again, sorry, Jay Worsley
Justin.
mentioned has a reboarding campaign that's sort of a pick your own adventure to help remind them about member benefits. Great.
I was in another webinar with Justin this morning.
Justin, okay, thank you. Yeah. All right, what else? What else we got going on?
We don't really, I guess, like engage with them specifically. Like they still get like e-blasts and stuff from us throughout the year to like register for courses and stuff, but I think we could definitely improve on like I've gotten this from a few different webinars with PropFuel. Like don't yell at them our benefits and to do things, but like kind of be more conversational. And that's also something that we're trying to improve. So like just in general, they just get a lot of emails from us throughout the year. But I mean that's it.
Okay. Yeah, thanks, Emily, for sharing. What else? I saw a couple people come off mute as well. Anyone else want to share?
I guess I'm just interested to find out how we can find out what benefits they're most looking forward to using without it feeling like we're just throwing emails at them like once a day.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking if we use a PropFuel campaign about renewals and then immediately create another one, that might not be so good for my personal group of people. But I'm wondering how we can marry the two.
Okay, so you're thinking then as like a follow-up, once they have renewed, you want to know what benefits they're most looking forward to, right? Just kind of at large.
Yeah, that's kind of what
Okay.
I'm looking at.
Gotcha.
Brett, if I may.
Yeah, go for it, Justin.
Sure. So we're actually tweaking our reboarding campaign now, but it kind of goes in the same vein. And the question we're asking them is, what benefit are you looking forward to using this year? And it kind of spins the way for them to tell us what they want and then also share the benefits we have for this particular thing.
Yeah, I love that. And again, it's asking the question, right? We can't find something out unless we ask them. And I know, and I'm sorry, AOPA staff, I didn't catch your name there. But really, it's just as simple as, we have the campaigns to build out. And then just recognizing, yes, they're probably getting a lot of emails, but hey, at least they know that you're listening and they recognize that renewal came through. And then you're intending to then help support them in that continued year of membership by asking first and foremost, what benefits are you looking to use this year? Or what benefits maybe might you need that we aren't providing? That could be a can of worms. Don't necessarily recommend always asking open-ended for that type of thing, but definitely ways that you can kind of incorporate that initial follow-up right after that member renews. So yeah, thanks, Justin, for sharing. Anyone else doing anything right after that renewal?
Brett, we usually thank members for renewing, but then also say this is a great time to update your member roster.
Yeah.
Making sure now that you've renewed, we want to clean up the list, remove folks who aren't there anymore because we're institutional membership, and add new folks that may not be currently utilizing the benefits. So we find that to be quite helpful too.
Yeah, I love that. Like right into a profile update of sorts, right? Like at the institutional level at the organization, but even for individual members, right? Just saying, hey, thanks for renewing. We'd love to make sure we've got your profile up to date. Do you mind filling out some demographic or maybe just general about you information that you can capture and hopefully write back to your database? Any other ideas here on the either how you're currently engaging or what you would like to know from your members? All right. I'm going to go ahead and drop in the chat. Our team recently did a webinar for UST, and it was titled "We Didn't Talk All Year, but Want to Renew." With this idea, right, renewals are cyclical. So every year, your members are you intentionally want them to renew their membership. So but don't make it that you're only reaching out to them when it's time for renewals. So really some good insight as it relates to the general renewal cycle. There's also a link at the very bottom of the blog post that links out to that specific webinar. So you can watch the whole thing. I think Dave and someone else from our team was running that one. So some good insight from the folks on that side. But again, the idea is let's not end the conversation at the renewal. Yes, you've gotten them to renew. That's great. But how can you better support that member then moving forward? Yeah, Janet just drops a couple things in the chat too. Why did they join, or how did they first hear about us? As in, how did they hear about the organization? So again, great things to ask. Those great for initial new members that are joining the organization. Or maybe why did you renew? Like, what did you come back for? What would you most find valuable last year? And is it something that you're still looking for this year? So great thoughts there from everyone. So thank you all for sharing. We're going to jump right into, again, hopefully the blueprints are now second nature for most of you. But if you have not dabbled in building from blueprints, I always recommend checking them out. Ashley linked one of the campaign guides as well in the chat. So for most of our campaign blueprints, we do have a respective campaign guide that kind of walks you through some of the high level steps and goals of that campaign, as well as provide some additional client examples for those. So when you're in platform here and you're building a new campaign, on the left-hand side of that create campaign menu, you're going to see that create from blueprint. So you're just going to simply look through the blueprint options here. We have some relative general themes as it relates to a membership lifecycle. And then obviously in this case, we're talking about renewal today. So you would go into the renewal dropdown, and then you would select the respective renewal campaign. So we'll talk more as it relates to the renewal campaigns. There's a couple different campaign blueprint options available, whether it's specific to a individual member or an organizational member. And then additionally, as it relates to a scheduled or a sequence campaign. So hopefully those terms aren't new for most of you. Scheduled at its core is you pick a date and time or you pick a date specifically to each check-in. Those are going to be good for your annual calendar-based renewals. So if everybody is renewing on December 31st or everyone expires on December 31st, you're probably going to choose a scheduled because you want to make sure each of those check-ins go out within the same time frame leading up to that expiration. And then a sequence campaign is going to be more for the ongoing anniversary-based membership. So, right, everyone's going to expire at different points throughout the year. So that renewal outreach will happen sporadically as those members lead up to that expiration date, whether you're doing 45 days or 60 days prior to their expiration date. That'll all be relative to the campaign itself, but you'll have the ability to then select from the renewal blueprints. I love the blueprint for the renewals because you have 4 fields that you have to input. One of them is just the PropFuel name of the campaign, and then you just have sender's name, email address, and your renewal page URL. And with that, you get an entire renewal campaign built out, I think usually in less than a minute, depending on your internet speed, might be a little slower. But regardless, you have a campaign just like that. Anyone, if anyone hasn't run blueprints or if there's any questions about blueprints, either feel free to drop them in the chat, or if you would like to come off mute and ask, we're happy to answer some of these before we dive into the copy campaign reference. So any questions from the group on blueprints? All right, hearing none. So to copy or not to copy. So this is always a question, right? So you might have run a campaign back in 2024 or 2023, or maybe every year since you've joined PropFuel. And so you might be wondering, do I need to copy my campaign or do I need to start a new campaign? And it's really going to come down to kind of the core. What I like to think about is, are there any major changes to member benefits, or thinking about the copy you might have used? So like the text in your email templates, the copy that you would use in your landing pages, the hyperlinks, if you have hyperlinks out to a web page that maybe doesn't exist anymore, or maybe you moved your renewal URL somewhere else, right? Thinking through some of those components. Smaller things like maybe you just need to update the hyperlinks. I would say copy campaign is probably going to be your best bet, because with the copy campaign, it'll essentially pull over all of the same templates and copy that you had created from the existing campaign, and you have a fresh start to then build for this upcoming cycle. So again, and most often the your CSM, your client success manager, will be able to help guide you through whether it makes more sense to copy or just start from blueprint. Either way, you have unlimited campaigns, so sometimes you might just copy it, see if it works and fits, and if not, go back to the blueprint. No harm, no foul with that. But in general, the idea is you have options, right? So you can either copy the campaign year over year, or you can go ahead and build from the blueprint. If you do decide to copy, there is in the campaign settings within the handy tools section, a big old button that says copy campaign. You'll be asked to rename the campaign and copy the templates if you so wish. If you don't copy the templates, you'll have to restart in terms of the email templates as well. So just keeping that in mind. Again, if there's major changes that you want to make, maybe consider just running the blueprint again. But otherwise, you should be set for a copy. So
Another
with
thing,
that,
can I add one other thing, Brett?
yeah, Claire, go
To
ahead.
keep in mind when you're copying campaigns is it's only copying the email campaign. It won't copy all of your web external pages. Sometimes clients like to year over year have like separate web external pages. So if you're asking that redirect of why aren't you planning to renew or whatever it might be, those won't automatically copy over. So just something to be cognizant of. If you want to keep that data separate year to year, you're going to need to copy those web external pages too. But for those in the copying camp or in the refreshing campaigns rooms, we'll go over that too, but just something to keep in the back of your mind.
Yeah, thank you so much, Claire, for sharing that. Right. The same idea as you would copy a campaign for the general email channel campaign, you would do the same steps to copy any of those redirect questions. So like Claire said, for some clients, it's really, imperative to have a separate redirect to capture the data from 2024 and then having a separate instance where you have the 2025 version. So it'll be totally up to you how you want to capture those redirects. But in general, you'd have the option to either copy them over or leave the existing and just continue to pull those redirects into that same channel there. So with that, that's the end of the presentation in general. So if you have any questions, certainly feel free to, chime up right now or chime in, whatever the saying is. But as we are separating out into our breakout rooms, we're going to have 3 different breakout rooms today. The first is going to be kind of the first time renewal campaigns. So I'll be running that room. Basically, if you've never run a renewal campaign in PropFuel before, I would recommend starting in that one. So I'll walk you through the blueprint cycle and we'll go through that process. Clara is going to be leading up our individual membership campaign refresh. So if you have a campaign, a renewal campaign already, and you're just looking to maybe make a copy of it, or maybe just learn a little bit more about how you can refresh that for the year to come, Claire will be joining you in that individual breakout room. And then lastly, we have Ashley in our organizational membership campaign refresh. So same kind of idea for those folks that are on organizational memberships or kind of institution memberships. You'd want to join Ashley in the organizational room because she'll be working with you to refresh those types of campaigns. So I'm going to go ahead and stop my share here. And then let me get these breakout rooms open. So in the create from blueprint, in the renewal, we're going to see we have 11 different blueprint options. So again, I'll just make a brief explanation of what we're looking at here. At the very bottom, they're alphabetically. So at the very bottom, we'll see we have 4 different renewal campaign types. So depending on the type of membership that your organization offers, you'll either want to look at the company org memberships or the individual memberships. So for today's purpose, right, I'm sure there's probably some of you that are individual memberships, some of you are organizational based memberships. So what I would say is just please, as we're working through this, just select the one that's most respective to your organization. I'm just going to start with the individual membership for myself. And then we'll see that there's 2 different types of individual renewal campaigns. Again, we have the scheduled and the sequence. So if anyone here has memberships that all expire, let's say December 31st of this coming year, I would recommend you consider the scheduled campaign because that will allow you to then set the campaign check-ins respective to kind of your timeline of your renewal process. Meaning, right, you're probably going to start that initial outreach of saying, hey, are you planning to renew maybe 60 days ahead of your renewal or your expiration date? So then everyone that you're enrolling gets that same check-in on that same date. Whereas if we're looking at our sequence campaign, that's our more traditional drip style, that'll be for folks that have those anniversary memberships where your members are basically expiring at any point throughout the year. And so for that sake, we want to make sure that, but depending on the initial enrollment date, that's when we start to fire those respective check-ins from there on out. Okay. So before I click into either of those, any general questions on the company org or individual and or the scheduled versus sequence? Okay, seeing some heads shaking, so I'm glad we're still together. All right, so I'm going to click into scheduled. Again, for each of you, please just choose whichever one makes most sense for your organization. And then as a general note, if you haven't built from blueprints yet, at the very top, you'll have some general insights into kind of the goal of the campaign. We'll go over some of the high level details, again, telling you it's scheduled, how many check-ins will be built from the blueprint. This is editable. So if you decide, no, we only want to send 3 check-ins, or maybe you want to send 6 check-ins, depending on your sequence, you can then make those edits respective to your campaign. And in general, the timing will be set to have a 60-day prior to renewal and then 15 days after the expiration date. Some of you might have a lapsed win-back campaign that's targeting those folks that have already expired. So you might want to consider removing that additional lapsed check-in at the very end, but I'll show you more so of that once we get into the campaign itself. And then again, the best for is just saying, hey, this is an individual membership, so this is best for those that have individual members. What we talked about before, the campaign guide. So if you ever just want some tips or tricks on exactly what's going to be in this campaign, you can always click on the campaign guide link in each of these campaign blueprints, and that'll bring you out to our help desk, which has lots of great resources, a lot deeper of an explanation as to what this renewal campaign is about. At the very bottom, we have some examples. Let me just click through here of actual clients that have used these renewal campaigns, and it shows some insights from what they captured, some walkthroughs from our CS team as well to help better clue you into what you're going to be building here in PropFuel. So let's get started. Campaign name. So again, work alongside with me, and then we'll jump into, I'm going to take one of you over and you're going to be leading the pack here. But campaign name, I always like for this to just kind of indicate what are we starting with. Easy enough is this is going to be a renewal campaign. And then maybe respective to if you're on a scheduled, like I'm choosing a scheduled, I'm going to say these are my 2026 or 2025 renewals. And then if you need any more information after that, maybe you have a specific member group that you want to reach out to, or maybe this is a specific member, member type. What else can we separate by? Either way, add enough detail into the campaign name so that you know when you're in your campaigns menu, which campaign you're looking at. I'm just going to leave it as renewal 2025. Sender's name, this will essentially function kind of as an alias, meaning whatever this reply to email address is set as, the email inbox will show this sender's name. So in this case, I'm good with it coming from myself. Some of you might decide, hey, I want it to be, our membership director, and then clue into what organization they're with, in case your members might not know the membership director's name, or maybe you want it to come from the president of the organization. Totally up to you. It's all kind of editable, even from after the point you've built it from Blueprint. You can go back and change it if you need to. But I like to just generally start with a fresh campaign. My reply to email is just going to be, in this case, I'm going to choose my personal email. A note about sending from your personal email is anytime you receive an out of office or anytime your members have any kind of out of office trigger, those email auto responders will go back to this reply to address. So something to keep in mind. And for those of you that joined a little early, Sean, who's with us right here in the room, mentioned that, hey, we get a lot of members that actually just reply to the email. Same kind of idea. That reply to email is this email address. So if you don't want a bunch of emails coming to, Sean directly and they want it to go to membership at IAAO, then Sean will want to make sure that he puts in membership at IAAO.org instead of the, Sean Chevreau at IAAO. So that's the reply to. And then lastly, the renewal page URL is just going to be where on your website will you send your members out to go process that renewal. So in the campaign, it'll appear as ready to renew today. Click here to follow up and renew your membership. So thinking about that, what makes the most sense? It might be some folks, you can send them directly to a login page. Some you might want to send them to a member benefits page that has a button to click on renew now. Totally up to you what you decide. But in general, I usually just pop in our PropFuel email or our PropFuel website. Please do make sure that you have the HTTPS in front of your URL. Okay. What that's going to ensure is that it's actually coming, it'll redirect to your domain. If it's not with the HTTPS and you're just saying like propfuel.com, there is a possibility, or I guess for us, it doesn't really matter because it would go to PropFuel anyways, but it might think it's sending from a PropFuel domain. So we just want to make sure any instances of URLs that you have throughout your campaign, always just make sure to include that HTTPS in the front. Any questions on the 4 inputs that we had to put in here? Hopefully it's pretty explanatory, self-explanatory, but open to help answer any questions if we have them. Otherwise, if you're feeling good about it, go ahead and click on your run button. And then ideally, like I said, within about 30 seconds, you will have your entire renewal campaign built out without really ever having to take any additional steps. What it's showing you right now is basically a count of the steps that PropFuel is building on your behalf. And I like to point out that this does not mean you have to go back in and edit 119 different components. This is just simply stating that within this blueprint, we are building 119 components that will factor into that renewal campaign. So you can see here as it's processing and flowing, it's generating text. It'll generate subject lines. It'll generate actions and workflows. All of these things, thanks to the blueprint, you don't have to do yourself. So we're gonna give this a minute here, let it load. Is anyone having up to this point any issues? Anyone at a impasse here that want to chat about? Okay, cool.
I have a question. How can I go back and make sure that I added that?
The HTTPS?
Yes.
Okay, we'll take a peek into it, Carol, when we're in the campaign.
Okay.
Because you'll be able to edit any of those hyperlinks anyways, I'll just show you within the campaign.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
We don't really have a way we can go back to the original kind of blueprint inputs. I can see it on like our back end, but as a user, kind of at your level of PropFuel access, you would just be able to go into the campaign and edit the hyperlinks from
Okay,
there.
perfect.
So,
Thank you.
I appreciate the question though, so thank you. As a general note, we like to always make sure this little pop-up is included where this campaign does include AI-generated content, right? So with that said, please make sure some kind of human has put eyes onto the campaign to make sure the robot has done its job well. Some other notes within here is if you have any hyperlinks, right, always double checking that those hyperlinks are going to the correct pages that you intend them to. If you're using any personalization tokens throughout, so hi first name or hi, organization, just ensuring that those personalization tokens are actually tracking through. I'll show you kind of what that looks like when we're in the campaign itself. But overall, going to be pretty self-explanatory for anyone that has built a campaign so far in PropFuel. And hopefully, if you haven't built a campaign or it's been a while, hopefully it's like riding a bicycle, all comes back hopefully relatively quickly. A last general note, please always make sure to turn on your action workflows and send your self-test emails. So just like that, we have our entire renewal campaign. Again, we do always encourage and recommend, I can't necessarily say require, it's your campaign to do with what you want, but to make sure the messaging is true and correct based on what your organization is looking to get out, we have the 3 steps to reviewing our campaigns. I would say a $5 gift card to anybody that can tell me what those 3 review process steps are, and I'll get $5. So who's got it? Who's got the 3 steps? What are we going to review when we review our campaigns?
Workflows, check-ins, or wait a minute, you're talking about, no, let me be quiet.
No, I don't know who is talking, but you were on the right path. It's $5. Every campaign we build, there's 3 steps to the edit process. We want to review. Oh man, I haven't done my job well. All right, we're going to review the question. We're going to review the workflows. All right. And then we're going to review the templates. Everyone good on those three? It's
The
probably like,
person that always helps me build everything out is on vacation, so this is all.
all right. So Emily, you're fresh eyes here. All right. All good. All right. So again, the three steps of the review process are going to be review the question, review the workflows, and review the templates. Okay. At this point, I would love to switch over to a lovely volunteer. Do we have anyone that is willing to take over the screen share and walk us through your campaign? Is no one feeling it? I can keep going. I just, if we have an actual example here, could help everyone.
I guess I can volunteer.
Let's do it, Emily. All right. Thank you. And yeah, screen share is yours.
Okay,
Just let
ignore
me
my
get that.
million tabs that I have open.
It's okay.
It's a
PropFuel's,
lot.
anyone that's been in PropFuel probably knows the tabs just keep opening. So
Um, okay. Can you see it?
it is, yep, right there. Perfect.
So this was something that I like just kind of did a little rough draft a few weeks ago,
Okay.
actually.
Yeah.
Our renewal approach has always been like mailed invoices and then like a lot of e-blasts. So we're
Hmm.
trying, Megan recommended like doing something that can kind of run in the background.
Yeah.
So we're trying to do a whole different renewal approach.
Okay.
We have a big gap here that I'm not sure what else we should or could do because our people have a 6 month grace period,
Wow. Okay.
which we may shorten, but not until next year.
Okay.
So this is what I have so far.
Yeah. All right. So this is great, right? So everyone, what we're looking at here right now is a scheduled campaign. So if you built a scheduled campaign, you should see something very similar in your PropFuel account, right? So you've got in your design tab, you have each check-in that is labeled by the respective check-in send date. And we see that right above the check-in for each of those. So Emily's showing us here, she's got a September 25th, a November 1st, December 1st, and then like she said, they've got that 6 month grace. So they're having a check-in going out potentially then on July 15th. So if you have any, if you've built your campaign and you decide, actually, no, we need to kind of spread out the check-in dates, or we need to do whatever you need to do to kind of make it fit the flow of your renewal cycle, you could always just click on the little calendar icon next to each of those to the dates, and that will allow you to change the date for each of those check-ins. I always like to point out here when you do change the calendar date or when you change the date for the check-in, if you change it into a date that is in between two of your other check-ins, PropFuel will reorder the check-ins within the campaign design. Okay, so just keeping that in mind, if Emily were to change her September 25th check-in to say November 25th, it's now going to move it in order to be between her November 1st and her December 1st check-in. So now we can see, right? So now the first question was, is now a better time to renew? Where if Emily didn't catch onto that, she might not realize, oh, wait, okay, the order has been shifted, so now we need to make sure that the change happens. So one thing I generally recommend is if you're going to change the dates, try to start with the latest date possible and then work your way backwards from there. So that way you don't have to worry about campaign check-ins shifting throughout the entire sequence. It's going to kind of keep it within the order that you had intended it to be. So, any questions in general on that, kind of the timing of those check-ins? I'm going to try to keep an eye on the chat here too. Sorry. Perfect. All right, so no questions. So just some other general things that we'd like to cover here while we're in the session. So again, as we are working through these campaigns, the three steps of reviewing the question, the workflows and templates, we'll go briefly through that. Hopefully most of those are relatively familiar to most of you. So I'll do a high-level overview. Again, if you need some additional support, that's what we're here for. But Emily, let's go ahead and open up the edit question for the first check-in using that little pencil icon in that block. So
Okay.
again, not necessarily do you need to edit the question always, but it's always good to kind of at least take a look at what question we're asking and then seeing what options we're providing the members. Okay, so what we can see here is the first question that Emily would ask is, are you planning to renew your membership? And we have the three respective options of yes, I need more time, or no. Okay, so if you need to make any changes, you can do so here. Maybe your organization doesn't use ellipsis, or maybe you don't use an exclamation point. You just need to change that from kind of a formatting standpoint. Emily, if you don't mind, can you take out the exclamation in the first one?
Yeah.
Put it as a period. I just want to show something just so you're aware. All right, and then so Emily just changed, yes, I'd like to renew now from an exclamation point to a period. When Emily's going to click Save Question, what you're going to notice is the Workflows button is going to change to a little red icon, meaning there's something within these workflows that's giving an error. So what we see here is it's telling us the option, yes, I'd like to renew now, exclamation point is not a valid match. And we know that because we change it to a period. All you would need to do to change that out is like Emily's showing here is we'll click on the selection and that'll open up a little pop-up where we can then select the correct option from that third drop-down. And it would just be the new, yes, I'd like to renew now with a period. So now we have all of our workflows set up in the way that we need to. So again, a little bit deeper of a edit process, but just want to make sure if you did make any changes in the options of the multiple choice, you can see how then you need to make the respective changes in the workflows. And then looking in the workflows here, now as
Oh,
you
wait.
are
Was I supposed to stay there?
Oh yeah, that's great. Yeah, if you
Sorry.
don't mind, Emily. Perfect. Yep. So within the workflows here, right, what we see is for each of the respective options that you're providing your members, we have to set up the workflows and basically the actions of each workflow. So if somebody says, yes, I'd like to renew now, we're going to, two actions here is what we see. First, we're going to show the member text on a landing page. And so, yep, you can go ahead and click on that for me, Emily. And Carol, this is going to be where I come back to your question about the hyperlink, right? So it says, that's wonderful news. You can renew your AANA membership here. If that hyperlink you need to change, go ahead and click once on that link and click on edit. And this will open up the edit link portion. So then you could decide, oh, I didn't include the HTTPS, or actually we need to send it to the login page and not the membership reactivate page. If you need to make any changes, just make sure that URL is placed into here. And you can see the text below it is just what text appears in place of that URL. One other piece that I'd like to point out here is that open link in new tab. So basically, if you have that open link in new tab unchecked, it'll just open that respective hyperlink in the existing window tab that you have open. Whereas if you click on that open link in new tab and you have that selected, it would open that up in a new tab in your internet browser. What I recommend is if you have multiple links or more information within the landing page that you want to make sure the member could still access even after clicking that first link, always make sure to have that open link in new tab selected so they don't get lost from the original landing page when they go out to that first hyperlink. But otherwise, your basic text editor here, this landing page, from the blueprint, the yes, I'd like to renew now is generally pretty simple. It's just a, hey, great news. Here's how you can do that process. So if you need to make any changes, you can edit the text within here. And then you have all the different editing components there at the top, whether you want to bold something or italicize, or maybe you want to include a image inside of the landing page text as well. You have all the ability to do that within this text editor. And then always just making sure that you click Save Action if you have made any changes to make sure that those carry through. And then we'll see here too, right? So we show the text on a landing page, and then we're also sending that member an email. And so that send email is also triggered and fired at the same time when that member selects, yes, I'd like to renew now. And the send email is basically a friendly follow-up to those folks saying, hey, we appreciate that you are intending to renew your membership. In case you didn't do it, right? We sent them out to that web page. Hopefully they did it then. But if not, here's a little follow-up with a link to the renewal page as a friendly follow-up. So we always have a line that says if you've already rejoined, there's no need to do anything else. If you want to remove the send email action, you're more than welcome to do so. It is just kind of a nice way to follow through in case that member didn't take those steps. And then at the top, a couple of other components for the send email actions. You're going to see that from name. So again, depending on what you put in from the blueprint, that'll appear there, along with that reply to email, and then a respective subject line for this specific send email action follow-up. Emily, before we close out of this, any questions from any folks here on the send email action or the send email in respect to the show text on landing page as well? Anything I can help answer? Okay, cool. One other thing, as I mentioned in the the initial pop-up, once we built from the blueprint, it said, make sure any personalization tokens are, tested out. So what we can see here in this email body text is right up at the top where it says contact field first name, right? That's going to be a type of personalization token so that when you send this email out as the follow-up, it'll inject that individual member's first name into this space. If you ever need to change the personalization token or you have a different personalization token you'd like to use, you'll access those personalization tokens through that little like ID icon to the right of that email body text header. You'll select on that little icon right above the edit bar, Emily,
Right
just above where your mouse is. And then
above.
there's a little like the blue icon to the right of the email body text.
Oh,
Yep.
this.
Yeah, so right there is going to house all the personalization tokens. And so from here, you'll see if you scroll down to the bottom is going to be where we have all the contact fields that are mapped from your respective AMS. So we can see here, Emily and the team at AANA have a lot of different fields that they could use as personalization tokens. Most often, you're probably going to find yourself using, more often than not, the first name, especially with like one of these email follow-ups. All right. Perfect. Any questions on the personalization tokens here? Okay. So hearing none, we can go ahead and close out of that one. And then one thing I want to point out here too, we don't need to look right now into the I need more time. Ideally, same kind of idea, review the landing page text for any of those respective actions and then make any edits as necessary. But what I do want to point out here for the final question or the final workflow is it's the option of no, I'm not renewing this year. And what we can see is happening here is we have a redirect to another question. And that's going to be the good old classic conversational engagement. You told us no, so we're going to ask you why not. And so what we can see here is when you click on the kind of the name of the action, it's going to ask us if we want to change where we redirect that question to. If you want to open up that redirect question in a new tab to see exactly what that workflow looks like, you'll click on the little icon to the right of that, which is a little square with an arrow pointing out. And this will open up our redirect question. So if anyone had any issue getting to the redirect question, feel free to pause, take a moment, get yourself situated there. And I'd ask you to each open up that redirect question from that first follow-up. And it's going to be that is something holding you back? And so what we'll see here, same idea, we'll kind of go through those same steps where we'll review the question, review the workflows, and then review the template. Sometimes I like to just skip the review the question because you can see the options that are available, just like Emily did here. You can see the options through this question workflows pop up. So if you needed to make changes after you see these that are available, you could go back into the edit the question and make any changes as you need to. But in general, these are most often what we hear from our clients or hear from members in terms of why they don't plan to rejoin or what's holding them back from the renewal. Do you all have any anecdotal information that you've heard from members, why they don't plan to renew? Is there anything that you've heard once before that maybe just kind of took you aback and you said, well, okay, thanks for letting me know, but interesting. Any insights from your members that you'd like to share? Emily, anything you've heard?
We just get a lot of like they have a lot of other memberships at other associations, or they don't see value in the benefits, or that they're retiring.
Yeah. And a good point about the retiring too is if you have, or sorry, if your organization has a retired membership offering, you'd also want to make sure that that's kind of made clear in that retiring option, right? Because hey, if they're telling you they're retired, congratulations, but let me tell you, we got an option for you. You can continue to stay engaged with this organization even through your retirement. So always considering, right, each organization is going to be unique in terms of what types of memberships you have. Some folks might call it emeritus, some call it retired, some call it lifetime, right? It's kind of all that same general gist of membership where that person's probably no longer in the career, but there's still opportunity for them to connect. So thank you, Emily, for sharing that. Any other thoughts on additional kind of hesitations, we'll call them, that you've heard from your members?
Well, Brett, we're of course organizationally
Mhm.
based, so it could be, and dues are not one set amount. It depends. It's based on multiple factors. So our dues can be a very low amount and it can range to quite a large amount. So some folks will say, but they're not renewing because of budgetary constraints, especially right now.
Yeah.
Or in the higher ed space. So we all know higher ed is a little
Yeah.
unstable right now. So yeah, it could be budget reasons. Dues are priced too high. It just depends on the school, but or sometimes and not often, and I never like to hear this, benefits not utilized.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, Amy, I appreciate you sharing that because that's something too to consider, right? Again, what we have from the blueprint is going to be generally what we most often hear from clients and members about why they don't plan to renew. But you might find out that, like Amy said, sometimes they just don't. Maybe I've left the field isn't relevant to your members. Regardless of what membership types you offer, just considering the workflows, you can always change them. You can always change the answer options that are available to your members, just thinking about what would make the most or what would provide the most value as an organization to then capture some insight from those members when they do respond. And we're always going to have that lovely something else where if the member thinks nothing from this list originally has, a true reasoning is why they're not rejoining, we're going to give them an option to do something else, which will have a redirect out to a open-ended, in which case that member could then ideally provide some kind of open-ended response as to why they don't plan to renew their membership. So keeping that in mind, right? That's always a alternative if you don't want to have to worry about, 17 different reasons. I would usually recommend trying to keep the reasons why not down to about 6 to 7. And even you can go less than that. You don't need to have that many. It's just, as you can see here, there's some similarities here with what we most often hear. Okay. Same idea on these workflows. You'll want to review all the landing page text and everything within each of those. But then once we have all of that set, one thing that I always recommend is as you're reviewing the landing page text, and this is a general this goes across any type of campaign in PropFuel. Once you've reviewed the actions, so any respective actions, and you are good with the way that either the email copy or the landing page text is written out, you'll see in the top right corner of each of those a little toggle. Currently, they're all set to inactive, meaning if a member were to somehow get to this question and answer this response, nothing would happen right now because no actions are going to fire because this is inactive. So in order to make sure that whatever actions you do have available end up happening when your member engages with this check-in, you need to make sure that those are toggled all to active. So Emily, if you just want to click once on that, we'll see what that looks like. Just changes it to a little blue icon, and you can now no longer delete it, right? So you can see that delete button went away when it became active. Now, if you do need to delete it, you can just mark it as inactive and then go back in, delete it, or make any changes that you might need to from there. But in general, that's the best practice is as you're working through, as you're editing, as you're reviewing, marking those as active so that you don't need to come back necessarily to review each of those respectively. So perfect. And I do know we're up at the hour. We do still have 30 minutes of our scheduled time, but I do recognize, some folks might need to drop off. So if you do need to, by all means, I just want to be respectful and say thank you for joining us. If you are able to stick around, we'd be glad to keep holding on through the conversation. We have one more thing to review, and that's the templates, and then we'll be set to send you off on your way to go finish up your renewal campaigns. So before we do that, any questions for anyone that might need to jump off? Anything that you want to bring up? I don't see anything in the chat. Okay, cool. Again, if you need to, feel free to just drop in the chat, or if you want someone from our team to reach out to you, just drop your email. So cool. So Emily, last thing, if you don't mind. So we've reviewed the question, we've reviewed the workflows. Last thing is going to be the templates. So in the top right corner of each check-in, you'll see the little gear icon. We'll click on that gear icon and we'll select templates. From templates, we're then going to click on the, within the email component, we're going to click on edit where it says copy of colorful. Yep. And this is going to be the same kind of idea of what you see is what you get, email copy that would go out to your members. So to start off, we see that the AANA logo is there at the top. Ideally, for most of you, that should be the case with your campaigns. If you're ever having any issues with your templates or you need some support on template editing, feel free to reach out to us. But in general, we'll have the logo up at the top. A nice thing here, right? We see that first name personalization token is right in there. Emily, if you don't mind, would you mind clicking into that, that text block right there? So I just want to point out for anyone, if you don't have that first name already in your blueprint, the way that you would add it from the email template is basically drop your cursor. So wherever your cursor is where that personalization token will be input. So Emily, we can just put it right after that first name, if you don't mind, for showing off purposes. And then in the top left of the screen here, you're going to see a little bracketed S in the kind of menu bar under the edit template. So this bracketed S here is going to be our personalization within this email template. And then you'll see again, similar type of style of personalization tokens that are available. These are going to be all the fields that we've mapped so far within PropFuel. So if we scroll down, Emily, you can just drop any of these in here. You'll just click on whichever one you'd want to bring in, and it'll drop it right into where that cursor was when we went into the personalization token. So again, you might need to, so you might want to say, doctor last name, or you might want to say, however you want to refer to the members, or hi first name, or hi doctor last name, right? It's totally up to you, but just recognizing those personalization tokens can be used throughout. For those of you that are on organizational memberships, it might be something where you want to include the organization's name, right? So it might not be the first name necessarily, but or you could use the first name to reach out to them and just say, hey, it's time for PropFuel to renew their membership. So just depending on how you want to best suit that email, you'll be able to make those edits here within the template editor. And then on the right-hand side with the template settings, what we saw with the send email action, you have a similar group of settings here that we can change the template name. That one, not so much do you need to worry about. But the from name, reply to, and the subject, you'll always want to review those just to make sure it's tied through with the overall campaign. And if you're ever feeling, I tell all my clients this, I hate email subject lines. They are the bane of my existence, and I will never get better at them because I choose not to. You have the option of using that little generate a suggestion with the little magic wand in the top right corner. So if you're ever at an impasse, whenever you see that little magic wand, it'll help generate a I just saw renewal and my mind went renewal. It'll generate a new, in this case, subject line, kind of based around what question are we asking, what type of campaign is it, and what's the general text within this template. So we can see here now we've got a renewal inquiry, confirm your 2026 ANA membership plan, right? And you can keep clicking on that magic wand as many times as you'd like until maybe you get something that's close enough, or maybe you can update a little bit here and there. But generate suggestions is a great way sometimes to spark some ideas for the subject line, especially. If any of you are subject line aficionados, please, I will gladly take some lessons from you. I will send you my email address if you have some tips and tricks. So yeah, in general, that's the email template editor, right? And that would wrap up our kind of 3-step process of reviewing the questions, reviewing the workflows, and reviewing the templates. So I'll pause here on the template editor. I know sometimes the template editor can get a little funky. Any questions from anyone here in the group on the email template editor, any of the template settings, or anything that we've reviewed up to this point?
I don't think I have anything.
Okay, perfect. So Emily, I'm going to ask you if you can just go ahead and close out of this one. Some final components, and we're not going to necessarily build these out together, but I just want to make note of them. When you're building out a renewal campaign, as you can see, right, we're going to have those periodic check-ins over the course of whether you have it 60 days, 90 days, so on and so forth. We'll have the periodic check-ins. But let's say your member renews after that first check-in goes out, right? We're going to need to figure out a way that we can track who has renewed. And ideally, in PropFuel, what we'll do is create a suppression list. And that suppression list will essentially function as a way to tell PropFuel, hey, this member in this case, has renewed their membership, we shouldn't send them another check-in, right? Because if they've renewed on September 25th, why should we send them an email on November 1st? And then again on December 1st, and then again on July 15th? Like they've done the thing we want them to do already. So we need to find a way to suppress them. And usually within a renewal campaign, a common kind of member field that you can use is their expiration date, right? So if you have members that are expiring on 12/31/2025, and they go and renew their membership. Now their membership should ideally, and I say ideally because I know every AMS might function a little differently, but ideally that member expiration date will then get marked as, say, 12/31/2026. So what we could do is build a suppression list in PropFuel. You don't even have to do it elsewhere. You build it in PropFuel that would look for any member that has an expiration date of 12/31/2026 or beyond, right? Because generally anyone that is not in the 12/31/2025 timeframe of expiration shouldn't be getting asked if they want to renew. Okay. Is it generally clear up to this point, kind of the renewal, the thought process and the logic behind that member journey through the renewal campaign? Is everyone good so far? Or feel free to ask questions too along the way. I know suppression lists can sometimes get a little confusing. So I'll pause for a second if anyone has a question on that. Okay. Hearing none, I'm going to just go ahead and link in the chat the list for creating, or the help desk article for creating suppression lists. So this is going to be, let me see 1 second. I need to make sure it's getting to everyone. Perfect. This is a component, right? Again, if you have questions about building the suppression list once you get to that point, anyone from our team, any of your client success managers will be more than happy to help walk you through it or kind of review what you have created based on having read through the help desk article. But always thinking about anytime you are intending your members to take some kind of action, we want to see if there's a way that we can clue into whether that action has been taken. Most often, if you are connected with your AMS, we'll be able to see when those member profiles have been updated. Again, in the case of a member expiration date, ideally those will get updated once that member has taken the action. So you'll know, hey, I don't need to reach out to them anymore. So again, link to the suppression list help desk article is in the chat. If we need to review that in the future, I'm happy to do so. And then some final components that I'll talk through, unless there's any questions on the design or anything that we've talked through just yet. So I've got two more things, and then I'll let you all go. But I'll pause for any questions. Okay, we got a quiet group. If y'all come around again, I want some like caffeine in those systems. All right, get a little energy, a little spunky here. Anyways, all right, so let's jump in. Last couple things I'll talk about here today. So workflows and or enrolled contacts. So let me talk through the workflows first because that's going to be ideally how we want to enroll folks. If you are connected with your AMS, you should have the ability to add and create a new workflow. If you don't have an AMS connected in PropFuel, you will not see workflows as an option here in your campaign. So just if you're like, oh, I don't see workflows, that would be why if you're not connected to your AMS. Okay. So keeping that in mind, when we do go to create a new workflow, we would just click on that create new workflow button. And this is where you'll have to start kind of thinking about, okay, well, what member field records would indicate to us that this person should be in this upcoming renewal campaign? Again, most often, especially for a scheduled campaign, so anyone that has expirations or membership expirations at 12/31, this one is usually the easiest because you can just add a trigger of is member expiration 12/31, 2025. And if so, they should probably be in this campaign, right? Now, there's going to be auto renewals. You might have some folks that are lifetime members and they don't have to renew, but their expiration date does get updated. So that'll be a thing that you'll have to think through as it relates to your membership structure in your AMS. But at large and in general, Emily, if you click on that add trigger button right in that workflow, what we're going to see here is, and what are we on? IMS. Okay, so IMS is an interesting one because we use IQA queries through IMS. And so everyone here, I'm sure each of you is on your own unique AMS, or not unique, but you're on your own AMS. So recognizing the triggers you might have available might be different than what you're seeing here on Emily's screen. But with that in mind, in this case, what Emily would ideally probably want to do is build that IQA query in IMIS that houses all of those upcoming renewals. And from this screen, what she would do is click on IQA query. And then she would go ahead and in that query path in the far right option there, she would just type in that query path from IMIS. And once PropFuel recognizes, hey, this is a query that's available to us, we're going to enroll all of the contacts that are living on that query from IMIS. I hate to dive too deep into that because I know maybe one or two other people here on IMIS. Again, that's something that your CSM should ideally be able to help you walk through and understand how to enroll contacts. All of them are going to be a little bit different. Some you can use contact search. So like I kind of mentioned earlier, we can clue off of basically an expiration date or an upcoming or a member type specifically. So they're all going to be unique, but in general, the contact workflow is going to be the easiest way to enroll contacts into a campaign. Emily, do you have a question specifically on this one? Or I see Chris raise your hand. Emily, I'll get to you, Chris, in a second. Emily, any questions before we have you leave the screen?
No, our IT person does like all of our mapping and whatever with
Even
that and
better.
for like all the folders and I
Okay.
don't know.
Perfect. You can go ahead and click cancel on that one. I won't
Okay.
make you have to worry about that. But Chris, yes, you had a question.
Yeah. So to use the suppression list, do they have to be enrolled through the workflow, or if you enroll the contacts through a CSV file, will the suppression list take them out once they have, they hit that list?
Yeah, follow-up question. Are you connected to your database?
We're connected to the database, but we don't have a dedicated person. So a lot of times, it's a lot of trial and error between me and a couple people.
Okay.
So I'm debating on whether it's easier to set up one list with multiple check-ins or to just set up several check-ins individually and just creating a new list every time we're sitting in that group.
Well,
Because
yeah, I could see you know, worst case scenario, that option might be okay. I would definitely shy away from that if you can. There's probably some intricacies to your question here. In general, what I would recommend if you are connected with your database, again, this is more general, so it might be specific to yours. We might need to talk through some other situations here. But in general, if you're connected to your database, but you don't have like the ability to create the workflow or you don't have kind of that piece of it, but you at least are able to track when member records are updated. So again, thinking about that membership expiration date, if that gets automatically updated when you do have members that renew, ideally, that list will be able to clue in on those updated expiration dates, so you don't have to worry about building a new suppression list each time. It would just be that suppression list is dynamically updated once those members do renew and they get added into that list. So, Chris, who's your CSM?
Ashley.
Ashley? Okay, I'll just give her a quick note to maybe reach out to you and just confirm on that one.
Okay.
Again, it could be, and this isn't like me calling you out for it, but it could just be a situation where it might help for her to take a look at what you do have of it available, and then be able to help you walk through what that would look like for the campaign.
Okay. No, that'd be great.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, Chris.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? This has been great. All right, so we got the contact workflows. That was one piece. Chris also just mentioned, right? What if you want to enroll a contact via CSV? So we do have that ability as well, and you could do that directly in the Enrolled Contacts tab. So that would just be a matter of, downloading a list from your AMS or from wherever you have, and then click on that Upload Contacts. It'll take you through a couple steps to upload those contacts. But once you have that, you are able to also enroll contacts through that. And then the last thing I'll point out is in the campaign, Emily, you can just click probably once on the back button in your browser, and it should take us right back to that campaign. Perfect. In the settings tab, I'm going to point out two things here, just in general. We have scrolled down to the send window. Perfect. All right, so right here, we see sending window. So always, before you send out a campaign, double check what time those check-ins are going to be sent out, right? We have blocks. So make sure you choose the best block that makes sense for your members. And then the send reminders, as a general note, in PropFuel, we will send a reminder, which is essentially the same email that check-in was initially sent through. It's just one more time into that member's inbox with the hope that they at least then answer the question the second time around. With the reminder delay telling PropFuel how long do we want to wait after the initial check-in to send that reminder. We have a couple of options, either 2 days, 1 week, 2 weeks, or 1 month. Thinking about the overall structure of the campaign when you are setting those reminders, right? You wouldn't want a reminder to go out after a second check-in has gone out because then you're getting kind of mixed matched messaging and you might have questions getting overlapped. So just kind of keeping that in mind, the reminder delay should always coincide with the general overall strategy of the campaign and the schedule thereof. So once you've set that up, one thing I'll point out too, this is new. So Emily, you can close out of that reminder delay. Right below that, we have blackout dates now. So we heard from you and we listened and we took action. Okay. We asked, captured, and acted. Well, I guess we didn't act. We listened, we captured and acted. So a lot of you were asking, hey, can we like not send emails on Saturday and Sunday? Well, guess what? Now you can. Or I guess now you cannot. If you want to set up any blackout rules, you would do that within either the campaign or you can do it at a general account wide setting. So like if at large, Emily never wanted to send anything out on a Saturday and Sunday, she would do that from the overall account settings. Or within this campaign, she could set a new rule. And that rule might say, hey, don't send on, if we drop this down, we'll say like days of the week, right? So maybe we don't want to send it out on a Saturday and a Sunday. So we could select both of those. And what would happen is if a check-in, and this is more so applicable to a sequence campaign, right, where you don't necessarily know what day of the week it would get sent on, if it ends up getting scheduled for a Saturday or a Sunday, PropFuel would just basically wait until the next available day, meaning Monday, and send that campaign check-in on the Monday thereafter. So days of the week is one option. There's also, and you can add multiple rules as well. So maybe you never want it Saturday and Sunday. You might also not want it on, December 25th or any other holiday throughout the year. You can set all those blackout rules here within the, again, either campaign or account settings at large. And with that, I'm going to wrap up my piece. I'm going to give us a couple minutes if anyone wants to stick around and ask any follow-up questions. I'm happy to help answer those, but I do want to be respectful of your time. What I would say is you got a little bit of homework, I'm sure, each of you, to go out and build this campaign, complete those edits, review the questions, review the workflows, review the templates, send yourself some test emails. To send yourself the test email, you'll go into each of the check-ins in that gear icon and click on send test email and just see what that flow looks like. Make sure your member, when they experience that journey, is going to feel like they're actually engaging with somebody at your organization. So with that, I just want to say thank you all for your time. Emily, thank you so much for being our lovely volunteer here today. We appreciate you sharing your
course.
screen. Any questions for me and or Emily? We'll ask Emily. She's our pro now.
Hey Brett, this is
A little bit.
Aaron.
Hey, Aaron.
How do we set it up for the blackout dates for the
Overall
all the
account?
campaign? Yep.
Yep. So Emily, if you don't mind, in the left-hand blue menu bar, click on settings for me. And then I need to remind myself, I think it's advanced. I've clicked into this like one time. Check-ins. And then blackout dates right here. Yep. Okay, perfect. So blackout dates. So this again will be an overarching for the entire account if you want to set out blackout rules so that anytime an AANA or Aaron, in your case, a NAM campaign goes out, that it's specifically not going to go out either in date ranges or days of the week or a specific date. So yeah, perfect. So again,
Perfect.
that
Thank
was
you.
the settings and then check-in setting, or sorry, settings, advanced, and then within the advanced, it's the check-in settings, and you'll be able to add those blackout rules. Okay, perfect. What other questions we got? Also, Emily, if you want to stop screen sharing, you're more than welcome to. I appreciate it, but you can
Okay.
stop if you like.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Yeah. Cool. What else we got? Any other questions? Everyone excited for their renewal campaign to go out? Yeah.
A little nervous.
A little nervous, that's okay, right? Every first campaign that you send is always going to have that kind of like, oh my gosh, did I do something wrong? Did I not set it up correctly? Just kind of know, like, if you've checked through and you've done your checks and balances, if you've done your send test emails and you don't see anything in the send test email, I don't want to say you'll never have any issues, but it's very rarely that you'll experience any issues after that point because you've tested everything. You've gone through each workflow, you've gone through each action, and you've made sure each of those goes out to the respective pages or fires the correct actions. So, but a little nervousness is to be expected. So don't worry, Emily. You're not alone in that feeling, I'm sure.
Not alone, Emily.
Yeah, thanks, Jennifer.
My camera's not working, but I was a little nervous setting up the campaign. I was going through it. I didn't have any questions because I was doing it myself, right?
Perfect.
As we were going through it.
Yeah,
I
appreciate that.
I didn't realize, right, that we do a 90-day out campaign, right?
Okay.
So we start everything October 1st. And I didn't realize that I had to adjust the dates. Because I was adding the dates first, where I wanted to go out. And it was a little confusing. So I had to go back and change the dates because it kept on changing the dates for the other emails too. So
okay.
Out a little bit, but
Yeah.
I think we're all set.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, and Jennifer, if you have any questions too, right? I'm not sure which organization you're with, but whoever your CSM is, I'm sure they'll be happy if it's me. Hey, welcome.
Claire's amazing.
Claire, okay, yeah.
I did it by myself though. It's just wanted to try it first before I messed anything up. And then write to her and tell her.
Yeah, now you can go call Claire and be like, Claire, help me. I got this far. What do I need to do?
Yes. But thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Jennifer.
Cool.
All right. Anything else from anyone? And if not, again, thank you all for being here. We really appreciate your time, right? Taking that first step to just be here, be a part of the group, helps to hopefully get you feeling a little more comfortable with what you've got here in PropFuel. And just know we're always here, right? So our entire staff, even Dave, if you called up Dave and asked him a question, I'm sure Dave would be willing to help answer you. So it's a small but mighty team here. We love to make sure that our clients are getting the best use of PropFuel. And that's by learning the best tips and tricks from yours truly and the rest of our CS team. So, any last questions or thoughts? More than welcome to answer. But otherwise, I just want to say thank you all again and hope you all have a great rest of your day.
So you're going to navigate to the campaigns tab once you're logged in, which you're probably already navigated to. And like Brett was saying, there are two options when it comes to your renewals each year. So like we've discussed, the renewal campaigns need to be refreshed year over year to make sure that you're re-enrolling your contacts each year, and that contacts are re-going through your renewal campaign. So there are two options when it comes to refreshing. You can either copy your campaign from last year, or we can just rerun a blueprint. I think there are benefits to each, like Brett was saying. So if you wanted to copy your campaign from last year, that means it's going to copy over all of your content and everything. So all you're doing is sort of looking through it, making sure that if any benefits have changed or anything like that, that you're updating it. Or if you need to change what someone signed from, that's your opportunity to just kind of copy it over and make those small changes. Or like I said, you can just run the full blueprint, which that blueprint's going to use like best practices, things it knows about your association to basically build the campaign for you. I've seen most recently when it comes to refreshing time, when I'm looking at a client's campaign, if you've got like one check-in in your renewal campaign, I might recommend exploring running the renewal blueprint instead, just because it's going to give you some more ongoing outreach to those members. Or you can obviously manually build those check-ins if you wanted to copy it over to the next year. But typically I've either seen copying and kind of using the same content, or running a blueprint if you want some more content and best practices and things like that. So it's kind of up to you what you want to do when it comes to refreshing your campaign. Happy to kind of hear what you guys are currently doing and help guide you into what might make the most sense. But I can show you both options for how you would go about doing both of those things. So any questions on which route to take or anything I can help with?
No, I'm good. I because I had to change some campaigns to do a 50% off for renewals who hadn't renewed yet. I had already copied it over in June, and we have, a ridiculous amount of renewal notices because we do lapse them on January 1, but we allow them to renew like throughout the year. They're not getting benefits anymore, but so we with the closer we get to our meeting, we're like, you sure you don't want to take advantage of those early bird discounts and that kind of thing. So
good.
I think it's best for me to just copy it over, then update, maybe change the order of some like that.
Okay. Well, I'm going to show both options just in case we've got people who are going to do one or the other. So I'm in my testing account right now, and thankfully I do happen to have a renewal campaign that I ran in one of our workshops a while back. So I'm going to show you the copying one first, just so you can see it. So this is my renewal campaign that I built. So I'm just going to open it up in a separate tab. It's already gone out. It was one check-in in November. So like this, I would probably recommend a couple more check-ins. So if I was a client going in here and I just had my one singular check-in, I might recommend next year trying to run a blueprint and have some more check-ins, just so that there's some more continual follow-up with them before the expiration date. So if I was a client going into this, I might actually look at running a blueprint instead of copying this. But for purposes of the call today, I'm just going to copy the campaign so you can see it. But basically what you're going to do is go into settings. And then if you scroll all the way down in settings, there's the option to copy a campaign. So you would just select to copy a campaign, and then I'd recommend naming it something new. What I like to do when it comes to naming my campaigns for renewals year over year is I like to put the month that I'm going to start it and then the last month it's going to run for. So if we're going to start this campaign in September, I'm going to put September 2025 to August 2026, so that then I know next year, ahead of August 2026, I want to go in and copy the campaign or refresh it. So it just helps me keep a little bit more organized on the months that I'm running a campaign and when I might need to go back in and refresh it. So just a little pro tip that helps me stay organized. Because if I just had 2025 in here, I might not know when I've got to go back in and have to remember to go back in and copy it. So I'd suggest doing something along those lines. So change the name, and then you will just keep templates copy, or keep the templates box checked so that you copy over all the templates, and then select to copy the campaign. So that's how you would copy it. The thing that I had noted in the main room is that if your campaign has a redirect, so like this one has a redirect for no, I'm not planning to renew, it's not going to copy that alongside when you copy the email campaign. That's a separate campaign type within the campaign. So you need to copy that over year if you want that data to be separate. So some clients like to have it so that like your 2025 renewals are all in the same data point for your web external questions that you're asking. And then you might want 2026 as a separate data point. So that's where you would want to copy over those web external pages as well, which you do the same thing of going into settings and then selecting to copy the campaign. So just something to keep in mind, that those are not automatically going to get copied when you copy the email campaign. So if you're trying to keep data separate year to year, make sure to copy the web external pages too. Questions on that side of things?
You blew right by me. I didn't see where you went to copy it, but I don't
yeah.
want to hold up everyone.
No, you're good. It's easy. It's quick. So you'll just go into the campaign.
Yeah.
I'm going to open it in a new tab just so it's easier for me to find it. So just click on a renewal campaign of some sorts.
Yeah,
And
I picked
then
one to subscribe.
yours, I think, are sequence campaigns. There's probably still stuff in design, but you're just going to go to the settings tab in that campaign and scroll down and select copy campaign.
So even one embedded question is considered a campaign
Yep.
in the back end, eh?
So that's like when, like if you're going to go to your campaigns page, for example, and you may have already noticed it, like it's showing all of these things
Right.
on here, because these are technically considered campaigns too, even though they're not in an email format. They're in a web external format. So your redirects are going to show in a web external page, and they're
Sorry,
considered
where's
separate.
copy?
Under settings
Yeah.
in the campaign, and then scroll all the way down to the bottom.
Yeah.
And then
Okay.
adjust schedule, create blueprint copy.
August.
And I believe you can also copy those from, no, you can't. You have to be in a campaign to copy them. So,
And copy resources, templates. Yes.
yep, the whole thing. Any other
Yeah.
questions on copying a campaign? Okay. So that's the one route, is to just copy it year to year and update the content. The next route is to run a blueprint. So to either rerun the blueprint, or if you've never run a blueprint, running the blueprint for your campaign. That's what I'm going to do today, just because it's going to give me more check-ins than the one that I have in here. So I want to run the blueprint. So I'm going to walk you through running the blueprint now, which you've probably all done at some point in your time in PropFuel, but we're going to go through it just from the start. So to run a blueprint, you're going to click on the new campaign button in the top right corner. And then select down to renewals. And then there are going to be 4 different types of campaigns in here. We're in the individual room, but if you accidentally join the individual room and you were an org-based association, no worries, you can select the org-based one. But for today, we're going to be focused on the individual membership renewal campaigns. It's always going to give you 2 options. So scheduled would be for those that might have like a regular schedule of renewals. So if when I was with an association, everyone renewed on January 1. So we were on a pretty regular schedule of when people renewed their membership. So 60 days out was pretty straightforward, that you were going to reach out in November and then December and then January 1. So a scheduled campaign would be used for more of an annual renewal cycle. And then A sequence campaign would be for more of those rolling renewals where they might renew any day of the week or every month of the year or something like that, where you want to constantly be enrolling people when they reach a certain criteria into your campaign and have them go through it. So I would select whichever one makes the most sense to you based on how your renewals operate. I'm going to do a sequence campaign, but are there any questions on which one you should run based on how your renewals operate? Okay, good. So once you click on that blueprint, it's going to have you put in some information. This one's a nice and quick one of what it needs from you. So I'm just going to go in and put that in here. So like I said, I like to name things the month that I'm going to start my renewal campaign, and then for the year after, so that I know around when I'm going to have to refresh it next year. So I'm going to call this September 2025 to August 2026 renewal campaign. So now I know I'm going to launch it hopefully in September, and then come August, I want to come back in and either copy it or rerun the blueprint again to make sure my contacts are enrolling. And then the sender's name, I'm just going to put myself, I'm going to put my email, and then I'm just going to put the PropFuel page for now. So fill that in with whatever information you need to, and then hit run. And this one, so you can see it, it's going to divide out what it is for you. So it's sequence campaign. It's 4 check-ins that begin 60 days ahead of renewal of their expiration date. And then usually there's 1 check-in that goes after they've already expired. So that's just kind of what it looks like. And then I'm going to hit run. And it's going to build out all of the different components of the campaign for me. So the templates, the check-ins, and the workflows. So that's what it's doing for me right now, based on what it knows about me. Are we all up to speed and in a good place? Okay.
So it's doing it, but I don't think it knows anything about me. So is it just basing
It'll
it
use
the
the stuff
other
it knows on your website
Okay.
and other campaigns, yeah.
I'm trying to put my name in everything everywhere so Chelsea knows it's me.
Okay. We've done that. We've done the copying. Okay. So now is where kind of both, we can close out of this. It's just saying to check your work because it used AI to generate the content. So you can just close out of this. So now is where both parts kind of align on what you need to do next. So whether you were copying the campaign or you were running the blueprint, this is where we come together and it's all going to be the same moving forward, regardless of what you've chosen to do. So as you can see here, generated 4 check-ins across, if I hover over here, across 71 days. So it's going to run around 60 days ahead of their renewal date. And then I want it to run about 11 days past their expiration date. So you can always see how many check-ins there are if you scroll down. If you're doing a scheduled campaign, you'll obviously be able to see it based on the dates. And then if you're running a sequence campaign, you're able to hover over this and see that it's 71 days long. So everything is going to go based off the date that someone's enrolled into your campaign. So in here, whether you are doing it from a blueprint or you're copying a campaign, you just want to follow the regular steps that you would follow to check what a campaign looks like and make sure it says what you want it to. So I'm going to go step by step through what that looks like. So there are 3 places you want to edit each check-in of a campaign. So the first is the question. I like to start with the question first just because I feel like it's the front and center thing. So I want to check the question. So the question we're asking here is, are you planning to renew your membership? So if I click this little pencil, it'll allow me to edit that question. Some people like to word these differently. This is just what the blueprint pulled for me of, are you planning to renew your membership? And then the various options. So if you wanted to change any of those, you could. If you wanted to delete them, rewrite them, this would be your opportunity to do so. So that's the first thing I like to look at is the question and make sure that that makes the most sense. The next thing I like to look at are the workflows. So that's this little arrow with the 3 over it. So if I click on that, this is basically what happens when someone clicks one of those answer selections. So what journey are we going to send them down based on how they've answered a question? So we'll go through each of these so you can kind of see what they are. So if someone says, yes, I'd like to renew now, we're going to show them text on a landing page. We're going to take them to a page with some information, and then we're also going to send them a follow-up email. So you can click on the show text on landing page to see what it says. If you wanted to adjust this language at all, this would be your opportunity to do so. You can edit anything on here. You can write in whatever you want, create different headers, bullets, anything that you'd might want to add to one of these email or landing pages. And then we're also going to send them an email action. So that's going to automatically send an email into their inbox. So it looks like a completely normal email into their inbox that just has some more information and sends the link into their inbox as a normal email. I like to do this typically, especially with renewals and lapsed campaigns, just because if someone were to click out of that landing page, at least they'll also have it in their inbox of how to get to that link to renew if they need to. So that would just be a matter of adding this send email action to make sure that they get that through their email as well. And everything in here can be edited also. And some other ones that I've seen pretty commonly in a renewal campaign is sometimes people like to redirect them directly to the URL link. So that's always an option too. If you wanted to add an action, just send them to the login page, you could do that too. We'll go over a redirect to another question in just a second. But redirect to a URL would just take them directly to the website. Again, though, would recommend having a send email action in case someone checks out, like clicks out of that page, then they also have it in their inbox as well. And then another little pro tip, I like to keep my workflows off until I know that they're good to go. So if I'm still editing these workflows or I need to go back and update something, I like to keep them toggled off until I know I'm ready to go with them. I'm not going to go back in and make changes, so I'm going to toggle it on. But just a nice way to go in and check your work and make sure that everything's looking like how you want it to. And then I need more time. Also going to show text on a landing page, and typically what it's going to pull is just the list of your benefits and then say, like, if you decide you want to renew now, here's the link to do so. Here are the benefits you get, everything like that. So it's just going to show them that text on a landing page. Again, could also add a send email action if you wanted to kind of take them to an email or give them an email with more information. So I'm going to toggle that one on. Any questions on those two workflows? Okay. And then the last one that we're asking is, no, I'm not renewing this year. So we really want to take that opportunity, since we've got them, to try and understand why they're not planning to renew the membership. So I remember when I was with an association, we used to have the hardest time getting a response as to why someone doesn't renew the membership. They just say no, or they don't pay. And then when you ask, they don't tell you. And so why not take advantage of just asking them on the spot if they've said no, why they're not planning to renew the membership. So we're going to do that through one of those web external pages. So back at the beginning of this, where I was saying when you copy a campaign, it's not going to copy over those web external pages. That's where questions like this live, are on those web external pages. So we are going to redirect them to that question asking why they're not planning to renew. And we're going to ask that question on a web external page. So it's a little hard to see, but there is a little box with an arrow sticking out of it, and that's going to pop your redirect question and web external campaign out into a different tab. So if you want to click on that, it should pop it out into a new tab. Does everyone see that box if you're following along with me? Okay. So this is where we're going to ask, is there something holding you back from renewing, or why aren't you planning to renew? However you might want to phrase it. And this is where I most commonly see with clients that they might have edits to the actual question and selection options. So again, going back to that, clicking on the pencil and making sure that the question we're asking is right. And then these reasons why someone might not renew are also accurate with what you know about your association, about your members. Like for example, you might want to get rid of some of these or reword how some of them are worded. So this is most commonly when I see a renewal blueprint run where clients might have changes to the question and the answer options because they might not align with your reasonings for why someone might not renew. So I'd suggest coming in here and tweaking those as needed. And then similarly to before, we're going to look at the workflows and see what we're going to show up when someone clicks on one of those responses. So I'm only going to go through a couple of them. But the first being cost. So if someone says cost, we're going to show them text on a landing page. It's going to be kind of information on benefits. I like to say this is your opportunity to have like one last ditch effort to win them back. So if they're saying cost, I'd recommend giving some ideas of how they could save money with your organization or by staying a member. So I like to kind of tailor these show text on landing pages based on what they've said and based on what you can provide them with based on their concerns. So kind of your last ditch effort to keep them if you can. And so these are all going to have show text on landing pages. So recommend going through and taking a look at those to make sure they say what you want them to say. Yeah, I'm going to just turn them on for purposes of today, but I'd recommend going through those and making sure that it pulls everything that you want it to. And then in here, we also have another redirect to another question, because if someone says something else, we might want to ask them for some more information. So we might redirect them to an open text question, asking them to tell you more. So same thing that we did on the last one, you're going to click this little box with the arrow sticking out of it and redirect to that question. And this is just going to be an open text field where someone can put in their reasoning. So if it didn't align with one of the different options on this tab, this is their opportunity to put something in with their own terminology as to why they're not planning to renew. And then on here, we've got some workflows to show text on a landing page. It just says, thanks, we'll review. Sometimes I've also seen clients add another action and do a send alert. So if you want to be alerted when someone fills in one of these open text answers, you can add a send alert action to alert yourself when someone puts it in, just in case it's something like, I don't know, I wanted to get savings at at the annual conference, and that gives you then the opportunity to be like, well, you could have gotten savings if you stayed a member. So things like that where it'll alert you, and it could be something that you actually do offer them and they maybe just didn't realize it or weren't paying attention or whatever it might be. So the alerts are nice in order for you to get some more information and then help them out if you can. So all right, just doing a quick pulse check on how we're doing. Good.
I did have one question though. Well,
yeah, go
two
for it.
really, but I'll spare you guys. I'll only ask one. So could you go back to the sort of highest level of this campaign one right here, and how did it decide who to enroll and who not to? I must have fallen asleep.
We haven't done that part yet, so you didn't fall
okay.
asleep.
All right.
You didn't fall asleep, don't worry. That's usually what we'll do right at the end.
Okay.
And I'd recommend connecting with your CSM on how to enroll the contacts if you're unsure, just because all clients have different AMS systems. So I don't want to like send you a skew based on what your particular AMS does, but can show you what the options are at the end of this call. And then if you've got questions, I'd suggest connecting with them. So
okay, then I will ask my second question. What the heck? So when you initially copied this, let's say we copied this from last year's campaign. You mentioned that when you do that with the top level campaign, the redirects don't copy over. So when you first take a look at this new copy you made, are the old redirects still going to show up here on the right hand?
I didn't copy. I made it from a blueprint. But if you were to copy it, like I'll show you, I'll just copy it so you can see. So here's the old one. If I were to copy it and go into settings and copy the campaign.
Yeah. And I would want to rename that to this year.
Yep.
Theoretically, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and so then my workflows copy over, but then it's not.
So those are the old ones right there that you just clicked on.
Still the original
okay.
workflow for that one.
So you would want to copy those. Would both of them now show up in that little box and you would have to delete the old one?
Yep. You'd click on this.
Okay.
So like I'm going to go in.
See, this was giving me trouble earlier today, actually.
And copy this one too and just call it like new, no redirect. So now I've got one for this year in here, but it's not going to automatically update it in my copied campaign. So what I'm going to want to do is go into that workflow. If you click on redirect to another question,
Oh,
you're
it's
able to
not gonna,
reselect
okay.
it.
Got it, got it, got it.
You might have to refresh, like I'm gonna have to refresh my page because I'm in multiple tabs now. But you'll just click on redirect to another question and select that question now instead.
Okay, got it, got it.
And again, the only reason, where did it go? Yeah. Didn't it save it? Try that one more time. Hang on one second. Oh, I copied the email campaign. Hold on. Now you got me twisted in here.
Yeah, that's okay. I understand now.
Yeah, but you'll basically select the no redirect, or you'll select the redirect to another question, just select the new question that you want it to go to instead. And mainly the only reason why people do that year over year is if you want your data to be kept separate, because if you are keeping it all in one, like in here, I haven't answered this, but this would be my history from last year. But you can keep using it over and over again, and you'll be able to see when people are responding. But if you wanted it to be like all your 2024 data for why people aren't renewing are in one campaign, and then all your 2025 are in another one, that's when you might want to copy over your web external pages year to year.
Okay. Perfect, thanks.
Did that help?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Janet, I saw you come off mute. I wasn't sure if you had a question too.
Yeah, I had a couple of questions. An easy one is, do you recommend sort of using a template or branding the template for renewals separate from your membership, or does that advise them like, oh, that's just a renewal notice, I'm not going to pay attention to that now? You know what I'm saying? So
like changing this top part to say like
so
renewals
good that
instead.
right, or yeah, ours is bigger than that, but so is it good to give them the quickest heads up that this is a renewal message, or get them to open it at least?
I'd keep it as your organization's logo, because the subject line is where the power is going to be on if they open it, and so they'll see that it's renewal time in the subject line. I don't think you need to make additional, like a specific template for renewals, unless you're already doing that, or unless they're used to seeing that elsewhere.
Okay, and the second question is, we are using Express Pay this year for the first time, so giving them an option to just click the link and they don't have to log in, right? So is it best to embed that in the template or in the workflow so that we know what their intention is? Yes, I'm going to renew. That's fabulous. Here's the quickest way to renew. Click this link. Okay.
I'd do it on the landing page.
Do it on the landing page. Okay.
So the reason I say that is, one, to what you had just said about knowing their intent, because then you're gonna get the data on like, did they say they were going to renew, but then did they not pay? So then you can like nurture that group of people if you want to, of like, they said they were going to do something and then they didn't ultimately do it. I also say that because, and this is just a tip for all of PropFuel, I would limit putting any links on your email templates, because that's going to take them away from answering the question to begin with. And so you don't want to pull them away from what you're asking them to do. So I would keep it in something instead of just like, oh, here's the link. Also, are you planning to renew your membership? Because then they're not going to answer the question. They're just going to click the link. So I'd keep it separate and put it on a landing page.
Would you offer them the opportunity to pay in several ways? Like they could still log in and pay, or would you give them, here's 3 different things you could do. You can pay with this link, you could log in and pay, or you can, print out the invoice template that we're sending them, in this email and mail it back.
I'd make it as straightforward as possible and give them all their options on here if you can.
Give them all their options.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I also know that sometimes there's a preferred option. So if you have a preferred option,
oh, sure,
maybe only put that on here, because sometimes it's like, well, we don't want them to actually mail in a check. So maybe don't put mailing in a check as an option if you don't need to. So I would put whatever options are most priority for you guys in terms of getting that payment. It's probably going to be an online link, I would think, but then giving them online link or your ACH information or whatever it might be as their options.
Yeah. Okay. It's difficult because you want to give them how much they're going to have to pay. And they would see that if they clicked on the link, but people want to see that quickly. So I think we're still going to have to put in an itemized invoice in the template so that they can see it.
What AMS system do you have?
NetForum. I mean,
I wonder if there's a way to pull their dues in from NetForum into PropFuel and then use a token to do that.
Actually, there is. You just download what it is to Excel and upload it as a field in PropFuel and then, make it look pretty.
Yeah. And then you would make a field and call it like dues amount.
Dues
and then
amount.
pull it in as a custom token in here. So it's not in
Exactly.
here, but that's how you could do it.
Yeah, no, that's what we've been doing. I just wondered if there was a way with this new opportunity of Express Pay to not do it, but I don't want to lose their intent by putting the Express Pay link on the, yeah, I'm ready to renew. Click here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I'd give them all their options, and then if you can do a direct link, do a direct link.
Mhm.
I think they'd appreciate everything in one place if they can, and not to have to go digging for information. So,
Mhm.
and then doing the same thing on your send email action or something similar to there on your send email action if you've got one of those.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Other questions? Okay. So we've looked at the check-in question. We've looked at the workflows. The last thing you want to look at in terms of checking is the actual email template. So I just went in there for a second, but to slow it down, all PropFuel emails or all PropFuel check-ins are going to show up in an email. So it's going to be sent to your member in an email. So we just want to make sure that the email template says what you want it to. So to get there, we're going to click the gear icon on that first check-in and then templates. And it'll show these various templates, and then we're going to edit the email template. And so I ran the blueprint, so this is automatically what it pulled. For you, it might have, if you copied it, pulled your information from last year. So just making sure that you look at this and have it say what you want it to say as that intro. So you can add any type of personalization if you want to, which just lives in this S bracket. So depending on what fields you've created and mapped, pulling that information in. So sometimes I've seen clients want to put, if they're more of a rolling renewals, what the expiration date is. You could pull that in as a custom field into the email to say like, hey, your renewal is coming up on X date, and it would pull in their expiration date. So a lot of opportunity to do some personalization on here too. If you wanted to pull in their organization name, you could do that. But that's how you would add in any personalization into the email. You can also add things. So you could say like, we hope to keep you. So you can adjust any text in that intro message. And then if you wanted to add any additional features, you would just click into a block. So clicking into this text box and then into a block in this top right corner, and then going to the left corner and adding any of these features. So if you wanted to add images or more text or anything like that, a lot of opportunity to edit it however you want it to look. And then I always recommend looking at everything on the right-hand side too. So making sure it still says who you want it to be from. So especially if you're copying your campaign, making sure that that person is still there. So that's a good thing to look for. The reply to, making sure that that's right. And then the subject line, you're able to adjust that as well. You might notice this little wand here across PropFuel. So if you click this wand, it's going to generate suggestions for you. So it's going to generate suggested subject lines for you. This also lives on those show text on landing pages too to generate content for you. So you'll see it throughout PropFuel to help you with kind of some brainstorming on content you can use. And then to the point earlier, I'd avoid putting links in here to keep them from answering the question. And your question's going to pull in here. So it's going to pull in that, are you planning to renew, with the answer selection options underneath it. So it's just going to say sample text for now. So I'm going to hit save template. So just to recap, the 3 places to look at each check-in are the question, the workflow. So the question would be looking at it from this pencil standpoint. So that's the first thing to look at, is the question and answer selections with the pencil. The next is the workflows. So what happens when someone clicks one of those answer selections, and making sure that this all says what you want it to say, or if you need to add actions. And then once you're in here, looking also at that redirect question to make sure that that says what you want it to in terms of what reasons someone might not renew the membership. So taking a look through those as well, looking at the question at this pencil level, and then looking at the workflows in here to make sure these all say what you want. So that's the second part, is the workflows. And then the third is looking at the email template. So that lives in this gear icon in the top right corner under templates and then email. Questions on the 3 places to update. Okay. So then the last thing I recommend doing before you, once you've gone through all of these check-ins, made sure the content says what you want, you've looked in all those 3 places, is I'd recommend sending yourself tests for each of these just to make sure that they look right in your inbox. So to send a test email, you're just going to click this gear icon in the top right corner and then send test email. And it should automatically populate your email address and send an email into your inbox. And I'd recommend kind of like clicking through it and seeing what it looks like. So obviously it pulled in my personalization. I can click through these and see the different things it's going to send me, just so you can see what they look like. And if I click no, I'm going to get redirected to that question asking why. And then they can answer that. And then they're going to be brought to a landing page with more information too. Any questions here? Cool. All right, so we've edited the campaign. Oops. We've reviewed the updates. We've sent our test email. The last couple things to look at within your campaign are the settings. So underneath the settings tab, some things to point out here is your sending window. So all PropFuel emails are going to go into an email queue with other emails going out. So it's always going to be a 3-hour window of time. So my 3-hour window of time is 5 to 8 Eastern. So whenever someone's coming up on one of those check-ins, it'll send during that window of time. I do have reminders turned on here. Reminders are sent to anyone who doesn't engage with the check-in. So if I get that, are you planning to renew email, and I don't click it, I could get a reminder a certain amount of days later that I've pre-selected that basically sends me the same content over again and encourages me to answer it. So I've got the send reminders turned on, and I have a reminder delay of 2 days, but you can adjust these to 2 days, a week, 2 weeks, a month, depending on how often you want to check in with them. And then you can also opt to turn them all off as well. And then other important things to note as you're copying campaigns over year is just to make sure that if you've got a suppression list, which I'd recommend having suppression lists for your campaigns for renewals, just to make sure that that content still makes sense. My guess would be some of the suppression lists that are set up, at least the common ones that we set up with clients, are looking at expiration dates and making sure that it's 100 days in the future or whatever pre-selected dates in the future. So just make sure, especially if you've got it tied to a specific date, that you're updating it to whatever the date is in the future. So making sure to look at those suppression lists and ensure that they're pulling in the right people for the following year. And then if you've got any conversion lists, you might want to build a new conversion list for this next year of campaigns. So looking at who was in the campaign and who ultimately took the actions that you wanted them to take. So these are 2 other things you might want to look at to update before you go live with your refreshed campaign. And then the last thing, so we've done the design, we've done the settings. The last thing is figuring out how you're going to enroll contacts. I am in a testing account, so I don't have a connection to an AMS system, but you might be connected to your AMS system in PropFuel. If that was the instance, you'd have a workflows appear right here. I don't, because I'm not connected to one, but certainly happy to talk you through how to do that if you've got one in particular you've got questions about. But for my instance, what I would do is I would go into enrolled contacts. I'd have a CSV file of my contacts. It has to be a CSV file. And I would go in and select to upload contacts. I'd choose my CSV file and then map the fields accordingly. So all of the different columns in your CSV file, and then I would choose to add them to the campaign. I'm happy to make a CSV file if you would like me to, but my guess would be that most of you probably have some kind of connection that I can help talk through as well. So if it'd be beneficial for me to show you how to upload a CSV file to a campaign, certainly let me know and I'm happy to show you. But it's pretty straightforward in the sense of you would just select to, oops, it went back out again. You would just select to upload the contacts, choose your CSV files, match up your columns to the different fields you have in PropFuel, and then select to upload them to your campaign. And then once you've done that, that's kind of the last step of making sure that your campaign looks good from a standpoint of design. So looking in those 3 places, making sure that all the content looks good. The next would be just taking a look through your settings and making sure that the sending window is the right window, that you've got the reminders set to how you want them set, looking at your suppression lists and making sure that they're good to go for the following year. And then the last step is the enrolling of contacts, whether you do that through a CSV file or have a certain AMS system that we're going to pull them in from. Typically, it's going to depend on AMS systems, but sometimes with those workflows, what I see is basically looking at like an expiration date field on a contacts record and then saying, hey, 60 days ahead of that expiration date, let's send them into this renewal campaign, and then they'll automatically get enrolled and go through it throughout the campaign. So that kind of covers everything on our end of what that looks like. And then once you're good to go, you would just toggle this from draft to live and set it that way. Any questions, concerns, or things I can help with? Good? Okay. Well, if you've got certain questions on like how to enroll contacts to your campaign or what workflows to set up, please feel free to reach out to your CSM and they're happy to walk you through, or to our support inbox and they're happy to walk you through how to set up those workflows based on the particular AMS that you have. But as a wrap up, the next step would be to just have you guys go through your campaigns and make sure that the content looks like how you want it to, get those settings cleaned up, and then enroll contacts to the campaign. And just a reminder, renewals and lapse campaigns need to be refreshed annually to make sure that people are getting re-enrolled year over year, as contacts can only go through a campaign one time. So just something to keep in mind with these campaigns is that they need to be refreshed year over year if you want contacts to re-enroll each year as you approach your renewals. So, but that kind of wraps up everything today. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to myself, to the CSMs, or to support. We're here to help. So.
If you don't have a campaign already, you can build from a blueprint. What that means is the system is going to ask you for a few pieces of key information, and then it'll generate a campaign for you with those pieces of information, some AI, and then the best practices that we've developed in the platform. So that's great for your first time. But if you already have a campaign, again, to what Brett was saying, it's a lot easier to just go to your old campaign. Maybe it's your 2024, 2025 renewal campaign, and then just copy it. So knowing that, is there anyone who thinks they might be better in a different room because you want to build from a blueprint today instead of copying? Okay, cool. All right, perfect. So in that case, what we're going to do, you've logged into your account. You're going to go to your campaigns tab here on the left, and you're going to find your old renewal campaign. I've already actually done mine, but I'm going to go to the 2024 renewal campaign. And then you're going to go into settings at the top. And all the way down at the bottom, there should be a button called Copy Campaign. And from there, you can name your new campaign. I typically like to put the year of the campaign and any other information. You can always edit this name later if you need to. And then you'll copy it. And for Kennedy and Jack, you all are both in the same account right now. It's not going to break anything if you both follow along and do this. You'll just probably one of you will want to archive the campaign that you build today, but it's helpful for practice, I think. All right. And then it should pretty quickly copy your campaign over. And you should see a page that looks like this. So this is what the campaign looks like typically when you run a blueprint. So we have 3 different check-ins in here. We have, will you be renewing your membership this year? Is now a better time to renew your membership? And is there anything holding you back from renewing? I'm curious if anyone is copying a campaign that has fewer check-ins than this, or maybe even more campaign or check-ins than this.
Mine doesn't really look like that. Like my campaign is, like my check-in is, did you know your cancer program membership has lapsed?
Yeah. Oh, okay.
And then I have my workflows, then I have 4 workflows that like go to that. I mean, this is after I've already tried renewing, obviously. So mine doesn't have that. Yours is sort of like, I guess, different. Like yours is doing like the workflows instead of all in one thing, like as check-ins.
Okay. Do you, Amy, are you comfortable sharing your screen and
Sure.
showing?
Yeah. I'm just eating a sandwich, so I'm
You're okay to stay off camera. I don't want to get in the way of your lunch. But yeah, that'll be helpful. It sounds like what you're working on is a lapsed campaign, which typically sends out after the renewal journey. So you can push people through this renewal journey all the way up until, typically it's up until the day they lapse. But if you have a grace period, some folks like to, do a couple check-ins in the renewal throughout the grace period, and then you roll them into a lapsed campaign.
Yeah, and this is actually sort of how I did the renewal, was the same thing. Like, I forget, but I did it with 1 question and then had the 4 workflows over here. So can you see?
Yeah, I can see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is great. So the only thing that's different with yours, and this is important, I think, for everyone to know, is there are 2 types of schedules in PropFuel that you can choose from. There's a sequence campaign, which is what mine was, where it doesn't actually go out at a specific date and time that you've set up. It goes out exactly what it sounds like, on a sequence. And that's great for organizations, or for associations where your members renew at all different times throughout the year. So we can pull them in when they're, say, 90 days before their expiration date. It'll wait a certain amount of time, usually like a day, and then send it out. Whereas the scheduled campaign is going to be very strict. It goes out on September 15th. It sends to everyone. And if you enroll anyone after September 15th, they're not going to go back and get that September 15th check-in. So as you can imagine, like I said, one is great for if you have members renewing at all different times. This scheduled one is great for ACCC and others like you, where everyone's renewing at the same time.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay.
Am I right in thinking that? It's been a while since I worked with y'all, but ACCC, everyone renews at the same time?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So you'll want to keep this one.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Of course.
I will stop sharing.
Perfect. All right. I'm going to share again. All right. So the way that I like to think about PropFuel campaigns is there are 3 different parts to it. The first part is going to be your question. The second part is going to be your workflows. And this is where we're telling the system, based on how somebody answered, take these different actions. And then the third part is going to be our templates. So that's making everything look nice. And that's going to be up here in the gear. So I'm going to go in that order. For those of you who have been with us for a while, if you have a different order you like to go in, by all means, please do that. But to look at your question and your answer choices and edit that, we're going to click the little pencil here. And that's going to pop open the question and the answers. Now, keep in mind that this question is going to display on a bigger email template benefits active, and then this question will display directly under that. So we want to just keep this question to this single sentence. Another thing I really like with this one, and it's specific to organizations, is, we have the typical, yes, I'd like to renew now. No, we won't be renewing this year. That we're undecided. But I think a really valuable one is this, I'm no longer the primary contact. I think it discourages people from being like, no, we're not going to renew, or not even answering because they know they're not the right contact. It gives them the opportunity to say, oh, actually, you need to reach out to someone else. So that's why we have that one there. And you'll see in the workflows that it branches people off to ask, okay, well, who is the correct contact? So if you see anything you want to change here, now's the time to do that. And I'm going to go ahead and change something just so you can see what happens when I do that. And I'll give you all just a couple seconds to do that. Maybe a thumbs up when you're ready to move on, so I'm not going too fast. Cool. Kennedy's good. Anyone else? Awesome. Thanks, Jack.
I'm good.
Cool. Thank you, Amy. And feel free to come off mute and ask questions if you're wondering about, strategy on any of these. If, I'm sure if you have the question, others do too. Thanks, Dion. All right, so I think we're good. So we're going to go ahead and save the question. Now, you might have noticed when I was back here in the pencil, I removed a word from this first answer choice. It didn't actually change the answer choice. It said, yes, we'd like to renew now. I took out the word now, and I wanted to do that to show you that if you make any changes, it's going to give you this little error icon in your workflows. So you're going to click on that. The reason for the error is that because we've now changed the answer choice from yes, we'd like to renew now to yes, we'd like to renew, it's telling you that's not a valid match and we just need to remap it. So on this very first one where it says selection equals yes, we'd like to renew now, I just need to click on it and re-find my selection. I'm curious, did anyone else change anything on your answer choices and see that little error? Okay, good. Perfect. All right. So this is the easy part. It's really just going into each one of these, and for every selection, we're going to review the actions. So for yes, we'd like to renew now. What I'm doing in my campaign is I'm showing text on a landing page and I'm sending an immediate follow-up email. So we can click on show text on landing page and we can review what's in there. Out of curiosity, is anyone doing different actions here other than these two for the yes?
No, that's what we have.
Awesome. Yeah, I like these two together because you get a lot of people who on the landing page, if they're anything like me, they see it and they're like, oh, cool, I'll do that later. And then they forget to go back. So I like to send that email to say like, hey, in case you need it, here it is again. One other thing I like to do as I'm editing my workflows is toggle them on. So that's going to do two things. The most important one is that when we go to test and when we go live with our campaign, having these toggled on means it's actually going to do the action. And then the other thing is I like to use it kind of as my check mark as I'm editing, because as you know, you can sometimes get lost in here with what you've done previously. And then we can move to I'm no longer the primary contact. So this one looks a little different. I'm going to go through these two actions down here first, and then we'll go to this redirect. So what this is doing is it's removing them from a campaign, and it's going to be this campaign. You can see here, it should be mapped to this campaign because they've told us they're not the right person. And then it's also sending an internal alert or an alert to somebody on your team. So I only have 2 people in here, but this is great because if somebody says I'm not the right contact, you probably need to take some further action to do some human outreach. So this will send you a nice big ugly red email that says like, hey, this person's no longer the primary contact. And then you know to reach out. Now, the other one, the third one on here, the redirect to another question, this is a little bit different than these like show text and send emails. If you click on it, it's not going to pop it up. So what you need to do is click on this little pop out arrow. It's a tiny little icon there. Click on it, and it's going to take you to your branch question. Is this what everyone's is looking like so far?
Mine does look exactly like that. I start to get confused, my brain, when I have to go. I like the other one when that just pops up, because here I have to remember you're basically doing like a sort of like campaign within a campaign or something kind of thing.
You're exactly right. Yeah, it's like those, if you've ever seen those, I know there's a name for them, but the Russian nesting dolls, that's how I kind of picture it. What I actually like to do is kind of refer back up to my browser tabs. I think that can be really helpful. So it's always going to pop you over to the branch question, and then you just take those 3 parts again, you know, the little pencil, the workflows, and then the templates. And as soon as you're done, just X out of there and go right back. That could really help to kind of think about it like your browser windows as the nesting.
I see. Okay. And I saw on your checklist you are going to talk about templates too, because that's another area that I get my brain doesn't work well.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'll talk about templates, and just so you know, Amy, these are things that I hear from every client, so it makes total sense. Okay. Anyone else have any questions or areas that they're getting kind of caught up on this?
No, I completely echo the like, how can I keep track of everything? Did I edit everything? Because we have like we launched our billing campaign with a certain member type, and now we're working on another member type, so it can be, you know, personalized to that. And I'm like losing my mind. I'm like, I thought I updated that part, and it's like, nope, you're just in question number 3, this answer, you know. So that's good. Some good ideas I'm hearing on how to kind of keep track of all the edits.
Yes, I think the one thing that's going to be kind of a saving grace for you is toggling on the workflows only when you're done with them. I think that has been really helpful for me. The other thing I might suggest is when you're going through your workflows in your primary campaign, save these redirects for last. So, you know, you could work on this first one because there's no redirects. There's no others in here that we could work on, but in some of them, there's like multiple that don't have redirects. Maybe do those first and then worry about these. All right. And if you are kind of ahead of us and you've already done the I'm no longer the primary contact, we can move on to the undecided or need more time. Now,
Dion has asked that question in the chat.
Oh, perfect. Okay, sorry, Dion, I was not seeing that. What are you most hoping to get out of your membership this year as the first question? So should we change it immediately asking if they are renewing? Such a good question. So what I have found is that the more direct questions do really well. And so you typically have direct questions and indirect questions in PropFuel. Direct being things like, would you like to renew? Is now a better time to renew? Even what's holding you back from renewing? It's still very direct. Whereas, what are you most hoping to get out of your membership this year? It's a bit unclear to them what action they're going to be asked to take once they answer. So it feels a little bit more indirect. I do like sometimes having an indirect in here, but I would sandwich it between two very direct questions. So in this case, you could do a direct, will you be renewing? And then maybe your second one is indirect, what are you hoping to get this year? And then right back to a direct, is now a better time to renew?
I think my concern is I'm trying to do more of a subtle check-in so that they're not like, you only talk to us when you want to renew. So I'm not sure in the life cycle where that's going to happen. I mean, and we didn't leave it at open-ended. They have to choose like one of the 6 things, and then we take them to the landing page for that.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, and I think honestly, you could still put it in the renewal campaign. I like the idea of doing that. And then you can sell them on the membership, on the value based on what they said. I would still maybe consider putting it as the second in though. And then, Dion, I'm curious, I don't remember if you said in the big group, are you doing a renewing and new member campaign?
Right now, I don't have a new member campaign built, so everyone was just going in the same general campaign. So now I'm trying to get everything a little bit more specific.
Yeah, makes total sense. So that would be a great place for, maybe starting this year, you could build one campaign that's an engagement campaign and put brand new members as they join in it and put people as they renew into it.
Okay.
And ask things like, hey, what are you hoping to get out of your membership this year? That works for everyone. How do you prefer to learn? What's your, how do you prefer to network? All of those types of questions that we can ask them throughout the year so that by the time 2027 renewals roll around, it's very direct questions and they don't feel like we've only asked them about renewing.
Thank you.
Of course. Yeah, great questions. Anything else? Strategy or how to do something in here? Okay. I think so that I'm no longer the primary contact and the we are undecided, those ones are pretty straightforward because when you go to the redirects, it's just one question. The no, we won't be renewing this year though, that is where I think it gets a little hairy for lack of a better term. So we can go down to this no, we won't be renewing this year and click the little pop out arrow and go over there. Now this one, we're going to click the pencil. And these are all of the answer choices that we typically see. Yours might look different if you've copied an older campaign because you might have decided that, we haven't used the benefits isn't a good answer choice for your members or, whatever it is. So go ahead and just review it. Make sure you like everything that's in there and then you can save it. If you don't in your campaign have this answer choice of something like, oops, we'd like to renew, I would suggest adding it. Because again, if they're anything like me, they just click too fast and then somebody might get to this page and be like, wait, no, didn't mean to do that. I do want to renew. And so you want to always give them the option to say, actually, show me how I can do the renewal. And then we'll go through our workflows. And I know these ones will take us a little bit of time. Something I didn't mention too is anybody interested? So again, Brett talked about this in the big group. Is anyone interested in actually having different redirect to another questions this year than you had last year? Meaning like this one here, if somebody said I'm no longer the primary contact, when we copied over the campaign, it's not making a copy of this branch question here. So is there anyone who does want to make a copy and doesn't want to house the new answers in with the old ones?
That are you saying like as a new feature that PropFuel would work on or?
No, I mean for this campaign specifically. So
oh, okay. Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. Cause like when I copied it's called a national member billing campaign to our Kansas City billing campaign, I had to then go in like for the redirect to another question, make copies of that because I wanted the answers to be separate from national member data. That's a completely different member than this Kansas City member. So, I mean, it wasn't like a big deal, but yeah, having to remember to do that so that the data is in like two different sections was important.
Yeah, okay. Let me show you just in case. So Kennedy, I'm this question is really for everyone, but Kennedy, are you gonna go ahead and do that in this campaign? Because if you are, maybe I ask you to share your screen and I can walk you through how to do that.
I already did.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Is anyone else interested in doing that and wants me to walk you through it specifically for yours? Okay, let me show you then. And again, if you change your mind and you want to share your screen so that I can show you how to do it on yours. But so let's just say that, you know, this is my copied campaign. And for this branch question here, where somebody says, I'm no longer the primary contact, and I'm redirecting them to a question to say, okay, who is the correct primary contact? Let's say that in 2026, I don't want all the same answers this year as in the same place as the answers I got last year. We just have to go into settings and copy this campaign as well. So you'd have to come in here and say, you know, rename it 2026 renewals, not the primary contact, copy it. And then back in our primary campaign, we have to redirect to that question now. Does that make sense?
And what would the new question, what's the new question? I'm a little confused on what the new question is.
Yeah, so the new question, it really is probably going to be the exact same question as the old one, but in your history tab now, and I'm sorry, I don't have any answers in here, but in your history tab now, when you copy the campaign, now it's starting fresh with 0 answers.
Got it.
Now
Okay.
when you come in here, you're not looking at 2025 answers and
Got it. Okay, I see. Okay.
All right, let's, if everyone's ready to move on, we can go into templates. Does anyone need a little bit more time on this first one and the workflows? All right, so templates. All right, so that's going to be this little gear. So we're back in our primary campaign. It's going to be the little gear on the upper right-hand corner of your check-in. So whether you are doing a sequence campaign or a scheduled, you should see a little gear up here and then templates. And we're going to click the edit button next to the email template. Now, just as a refresher, the parts of this template are, you have up here your intro text. So this is that text I was telling you about that comes right before the question, and it gives you a chance to give more context about why you're asking the question.
Ashley, I'm so sorry. I looked away for 1 second. And this is the most important part for me because this is where I get confused. This is what they're going to see when they first open. This isn't the template for the workflows, right?
Exactly. Yes.
Okay.
So
this is like the first question.
Yeah, this is the template for the email that goes into their inbox with this question in it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's going to be right up here in your check-in box. There's a gear and then templates.
Okay.
And you'll edit the email template.
Okay.
The other thing that's in this template is your subject line. So definitely make sure that that doesn't say, 2025 or some old information, your reply to email address and your from name. So make sure that those are all up to date. You're also going to see a box that looks like this, where it says this is sample text and there's a bunch of, stuff behind it. We're not going to do anything with this because that's hard coded. And so the question and the answer choices that you've already set up are going to auto display here when it sends out. So I'll give you a little bit to review that, make sure it looks right. One other thing you could do if you kind of want to up your game a little bit and you haven't done it before is you have this little S icon up at the top. And you can put your cursor wherever you want it, and then you can click this S, and these are all the personalization tokens we can pull in. So, you know, if you have expiration date in here, we can tell people what their specific expiration date is. We can use first name or even last name if it's like a, you know, doctor last name. So might want to look at that and see if there's anything that you would want to pull in.
And can you change the font in this?
Yeah, good question, Amy. So you can't currently change the font.
Okay, as long as I'm not crazy. That's
yeah,
all.
no, not at all. It's hard coded font only because
Okay.
some email systems don't honor certain fonts, and it's just easier to make sure that you don't get weird characters if we just do one universal font.
Okay.
But what you can do is you can up your font size if you wanted to. So you would click and it's this little, I don't know what it's called. I think it's an abacus. You can up your text size and click return to preview it.
Okay.
Do you see people doing more with this template page? I'm trying to, like, for our national members, the first campaign we did, it's time to renew your, you know, org name, membership before expiration date, and then the question. And then for this new membership type that I have, you know, I started to put some stuff in the bottom with like member benefits and links and stuff. And I just was looking, is there a place for examples, or do most people just leave this page as is and just have the question?
Yeah, really good question. So to answer one of your questions there is a place with examples, and that's going to be actually, Bruna, do you mind putting the help library link in for our campaign guides? I think that might be really helpful. So the campaign guides are those all of those foundational campaigns we believe you should be sending to your member. So Dion, there's the new and renewing member one in there. There's a lapse. There's a renewal. And there are examples in there, like actual video examples. So that could help kind of jog your creativity. But I would also say that in these emails, you want to keep it really simple. So anything like links or you know, tons of words or even images can really detract people from the question and the answers. And then I think people just kind of abandon. We actually don't even track link clicks that you get in here. So if you actually hyperlinked something using this chain, we don't track that. We're only tracking the answer choices here. But when they click and they go to a landing page, we do track any clicks here. So I actually save a lot of the images, links, everything for this page once they've given you the answer.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. One last thing that I have seen too that I do think is really nice is a signature line. And actually, let me just pull one up. I'll just pull mine up because I know where it is. Let's see. Oh, I think I've anchored it. Let's see if I can get to it. So this is actually our renewal campaign that we send out to our clients. And in the template, oh, you know what? I don't know if we have it in this one. Here it is. Okay, in the template, I've put my signature line and my headshot. I think that goes a long way in a renewal campaign, and it certainly goes a long way in something like a new and renewing member engagement campaign, where you can put, you know, headshots of different people throughout. So if it's an event-focused campaign, like introduce them to the event person, or if it's networking, introduce them to the maybe the event person as well. So
cool.
Did you do that?
How?
Yeah, is that just one image that you pulled in, or is it like
It's
how did you get?
actually,
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off, Amy. So this, I would actually suggest, this is one of the cases of like, don't do what I've shown you, do differently. But I would, so you're going to highlight kind of the block above where you want to pull in this information. And then you can click this little plus sign up at the top left. And these are all of the blocks you can pull in. So Kennedy, this might actually be something good for you to look at. If there is anything that makes sense to pull in, here's all of the options. For you, Amy, maybe the image with heading and text, this very top right one would be good.
Okay.
Don't get scared. It's going to look really large at first, but then you can pull in your headshot here, name, and then everything else you want. And I would probably, you know, reduce this sizing down to something much smaller, you know, kind of with it. But the reason I don't suggest stacking them side by side and instead doing a vertical stack is because on mobile, this doesn't look great. Whereas this, you know what it's always going to look like.
Okay. Thanks.
Of course. Does anyone need help with that template? I'm happy to, if you share your screen, I'm happy to walk you through it. Okay.
I have a general question about like the button colors and all of that. Like, is there, I know you can change the button colors, but is there something that like you recommend that is so that people, if they're not used to sort of seeing, you know, when you see a button, you know you're supposed to click it, but I think there's certain colors that sometimes you're not sure it's clickable kind of thing.
Yeah. That's such a good question. So what I would try to stay away from is any of the light stuff. You know, clearly that's not going to look great. You'll have the ability to change it, you know, to that, but that to me doesn't feel as clickable as doing the darker color with the white wording on the background. So I think as long as you stick with some of your darker branding colors, you'll probably be good. That to me feels like a button. Aside from button colors, something that does make it seem not as clickable is if you have too many words. So something that I would always suggest is like, even for this one that I've built here where I said, yes, we'd like to renew, it actually said, yes, we'd like to renew now. Maybe it's just a yes, or yes, I'd like to renew, like cutting down the words as much as possible so that it's not kind of returning to the next line will really help.
That makes sense.
The other two templates in here are pretty straightforward and there's not much that you need to do on them. The check-in page here, so if you pull in a check-in page, the only thing that this is doing is back in this email template, I'll show you. All the way at the bottom, it says, can't get the button to work, copy and paste this link. And then it'll auto input their unique link. If they grab that and they put it in their browser, it's going to show up on whatever check-in page. This question will show up on whatever check-in page you have set up. So that is it here. That's the only thing that check-in page is doing. And there's really nothing to edit. And then the thank you page. So this one, again, really nothing to edit here. It's just a logo. And then any of your show text on landing pages that you've set up are going to auto display here. So I'll show you what I mean by that. So back here in our workflows, and I'm sorry, I'm kind of all over the place, but back here in our workflows, this is a good example. If somebody says, yes, we'd like to renew, we have an action of show text on landing page. And here it just kind of looks not great. It's just a bunch of words. This is going to auto display on that much more beautiful template that we have set up on this thank you page template. So that'll display here without you needing to do anything. Amy, did that make sense? Because I know templates were something that you're still kind of getting the hang of, and that picked me up when I started.
Yeah, I think isn't there also like templates on your just campaign page? And so
yeah, there are.
So yeah, I feel like there's just templates in a lot of different places. So
yeah, templates everywhere.
Yeah, sometimes I just do, you know, I send myself a test email and I'm like, okay, that seemed to work. So I must have done something right.
Here's what I would say.
Yeah, but I'm getting more used to where they connect to.
Okay, good. Yeah, I would say templates were something that didn't connect for me until months in, really. And I can't even tell you what happened that made it connect. What I would suggest, so what Amy's talking about is templates really live in 3 places in PropFuel. I'm going to take you through this. So you have your settings and your templates here. This is what I refer to as my template library. So none of these templates are actually connected to a campaign until you go to create a campaign and you tell it, okay, pull in that template to this campaign. So here, as you can probably imagine, this is a great place for you to come in ahead of time and set up templates based on maybe different branding that you all use throughout the year. Maybe you have a general template that 90% of your campaigns are going to use. And then maybe you set up another template that's specific to your annual conference and one to your annual giving campaign. You get kind of the point. But nothing here, like I said, is attached to a campaign until you build one and you tell it to pull it in. The other area that Amy was mentioning is here in your campaign in settings. About halfway down, you have templates. I'm going to tell you something radical. Pretend like these don't even exist. That's what really helped me. Pretend like these don't exist, because when you go into your actual check-in where we've been, which is the little gear and then templates, any templates you set here are going to overwrite your campaign level templates. And I just prefer to just pull them in here. And then I know, oh, yeah, this is the email they're going to get. This is the check-in pages, and this is the thank you page. And then I forget about the campaign level.
And any edits we make to the template here when clicking next to the question, that's just being edited for that check-in email, not like, okay.
Great question. Yeah. So
it's not like going everywhere.
Exactly. You're not messing up your template library. Exactly. It's just pulling a copy into here.
Okay.
And yeah, that's exactly right.
Perfect.
And then is it true that sometimes the thank you page template isn't utilized? Does it?
Yeah.
Like if so, I guess the order of events would be they'd get an email, and so that's the top template.
Oh yeah, here, let me pull it up.
So they open their inbox, get an email. That's the top one that says email. And then they'd click yes. And then that would go to the check-in page. If they clicked yes and it had a response, whatever, like not a new question. Like, can you just explain the difference between that? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So the order is they get the email template, they answer the question, and then they can actually get one of 2 things. They could get, well, a whole host of things, but if it's something that happens here in PropFuel, an action that happens here in PropFuel, they can get one of 2 templates. They can either you've branched them off to another question, and that question is going to display here on a check-in page, but we're actually not setting that up here. I'll show you that. Or they're getting what's called a show text on landing page action, and that's displaying on the thank you page. So here in this campaign, I'll show you the yes, we'd like to renew. Great example. I've set up a show text on landing page action. This is going to auto display on that thank you page. Whereas this one, I'm no longer the primary contact. We're actually to be honest with you, we're taking people who answer this way. We're moving them from this campaign to another campaign because we're redirecting to this other question. So here, this question is actually going to display on its templates. It's not going to display on an email template because we've already sent the email. They've answered it. Now we're branching them to this check-in page here. So it'll just display like this. And then they answer this question, and they could then get a thank you page if we have a show text on landing page action here.
Now, I don't think I ever went into the template for like the second campaign. I think I just thought it was all from the first one, but I guess it makes sense.
Yeah, I would think about it for all of your campaigns. So your primary campaigns, any kind of branch questions or branch campaigns, think about it all of them in 3 parts. So each time, just go ahead and take those 3 parts. In your primary, it's click the little pencil to edit the question and answers, click the workflow to edit the workflows, and then always go into your gear to edit your templates.
Okay.
Dion, did you have a question?
whenever we get these campaigns from PropFuel, like, hey, go to this webinar or we're doing a training kind of thing, you always have fun little videos or GIFs or whatever. Is anyone else using those in their campaigns, or are you guys just kind of using your general, here's my logo on the email that they get? And are you seeing any difference in the interactions with that?
We haven't used any gifts or anything, but I did a campaign where we were giving away a code for a conference, and we had like a conference banner. And so I put that in my email. So it wasn't just like our logo, which I thought, like, I've been on a webinar that, a PropFuel webinar where they just look, some of the campaigns look so much nicer than if you just have your logo in there. I don't know. I guess you can change the background color too of the, so it's not just white and a logo.
Well, we did kind of a ribbon tied around a finger. Like, did you forget to pay your dues? And we did little pictures like that, but I just don't know if anyone else is doing that or if I'm looking crazy.
I'm curious if Jack and Kennedy are doing it. I have a couple that I can even show you, but curious if y'all are doing it. I'm pulling up an account. So to answer your question, yes, definitely. We have, it kind of runs the gamut, right? So you have some organizations where they're like, oh, our members would never go for that. And then others where they're like, yes, we have to do that. So CSI, this is actually one that you wouldn't think that they would want to do it, but she's all about the gifts. I'm wondering, Bruna, do you happen to know a campaign that it's in?
Yeah, I think the ones for certification.
There
Yeah,
we go. Perfect. So they really have fun with it. Like, and what I might suggest is, of course, you know your members best, but maybe keep the gifts out for a renewal campaign, because that feels a little bit more, transactional, a little bit more business-like. It's an ROI focused campaign. Nevertheless, they did decide, if somebody says, yes, I want to renew my membership, like, let's celebrate. So they did put the gifts in here. I think the gifts are better suited for event campaigns, certifications, things like that, that are kind of asking them to do something more other than kind of just pay their membership dues. Oh, you're on mute.
Okay, yeah, we might go halfway between and do some kind of cute little Canva banner without changing it up too much. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I love that idea. I'm a big fan of the Canva banners. All right, any other questions? I've shown you everything that I was planning to show you in terms of the build of the campaign. I think we have about 13 minutes left, so I can certainly show you suppression lists and enrolling contacts, unless there are any other questions. All right. So I want to start with suppression lists, because that's actually, I think, going to be the most important thing before we enroll any contacts. So a suppression list is going to be over here in your lists, and we're going to create the suppression list. And what it allows you to do is set up a filter or filters that tell us, okay, when somebody meets these certain criteria in our AMS, then remove them from the campaign or suppress them from the campaign. And we look at the suppression list every hour to see if new people meet the filter. So it's very automated. It's just constantly looking to see if we need to suppress people. So we're going to go to lists on the left. Now, certainly if you already have a suppression list in here and it's, all of your active members or anything like that that you can reuse, go ahead and just do that. Don't even worry if it's more people in the suppression list than are in the campaign, because we'll just ignore those people. But for those of you who don't have a list, we're going to create a new one. And I'm curious, is there anyone who is creating a new list? Or are we just using existing lists?
I don't think I have a new. Maybe actually Bruno walked me through, I think, a week or two ago, how to
Great one.
Yeah, it was it wasn't a renewal campaign. Anyway, I don't have one that I'm working on right now.
Okay, in that case, and the reason I ask is I'm almost thinking like, Amy, if you're okay with it, I'll just build one.
Yeah, that's fine.
And then everyone can kind of follow along. But again, if you already have a list in here, I'll show you how to attach it. I don't see anything in here that says like all active members, and that's really what we want. So I'm going to create a new list, and I'm just going to call it all active members. And I'm going to make it automatic. I make all of my lists automatic because that means it's going to look every hour to see if new people meet the filter. I don't think there's any in 2025. There's no reason to do manual, so we'll just create it. And then we're going to add a filter. So this is everything you can create a list on. What we want in here is going to be, if you have a database and AMS connected, then you'll want to click one of the bottom ones. So in this case, they're connected to Fontiva. So we could either connect directly to a Salesforce report if they have like an all active members report, or we can search for the people here directly in PropFuel, either way. I'm going to try contact search. And again, this lets me just search for people based on what I know about them here in PropFuel. And typically the way that you, I don't know if we have anything in here, but typically the way that you build it is you just look for like an expiration date. And you could say if their expiration date is, if it's on a schedule where everyone renews on, let's say 12/31/2025, you could just say, give me anyone whose expiration date is beyond 12/31/2025. Unfortunately, you all don't have that in here, so I would have to use a Salesforce report and look for maybe like all active members. Amy, I don't see one in here, so we might need to connect you with Brett to get that set up. I actually see an active members. That's probably it. And then save it. And then it'll just start running. Now, I don't know until I get them all in here, like who this actually is. But if we get it run and we see, okay, yep, this is truly who should not be in the renewal campaign, then we can grab the name of this list, go over to your campaign, and we'll attach it. Amy, is it?
It's the copy of FY20. Yeah, that one.
We'll go into the campaign and then up at the top, settings, and then all the way down, add suppression list. So that's where you're add your list. I'm gonna hold off on adding this, Amy, because I don't know for sure if this is true renewed members, but I just wanted to show everyone that's how you attach it. And that's it. Now, again, suppression lists are a weird one, suppression lists and enrolling contacts, because it's so specific to each organization. So if you all have questions about your suppression list, I'm happy to answer them now, or, connect with your CSM. And then enrolling contacts. So that's going to be the last thing we need to do. And again, so the way we do that is workflows up at the top. And so there's really two ways you can enroll contacts. You could use a CSV file. That's the less preferred way. The better way is going to be through a workflow, because that's going to allow you to pull them in through your AMS. Of course, if you don't have a connector, you could do that CSV file. But if we're doing it through your connector, it's going to be workflows and then create new workflow. And this should look really familiar because it's that trigger and action that we see in the design tab. But again, instead of telling them, based on how they answer, take these actions, we're telling the system, okay, based on something in our AMS, take these other actions. In this case, again, Amy has Fontiva, so we can use contact search, we can look at a sales order, we can look at a report. It really just depends on your AMS. I'm going to do report. And again, I don't think that we've set up a report in Salesforce, but let's say that we had, and we want to choose that one. We would save the trigger. This actually might be it. This might be the right one. And then we would tell it to add them to this campaign. I'm going to delete this one so I don't confuse you, Amy, because I think this might actually be the right report. Does that make sense? I really flew through that through the suppression list and the workflows, but you know, again, does it as a whole make sense knowing that we might need to dig into your actual AMS to get the right people in, get them suppressed?
Yeah.
Anyone have any questions on their specific workflows that I can help with? Y'all are so easy.
It's a small group, so it's very helpful.
Yeah.
And so much, we had Meg as our onboarding staff person, and you know, she got everything set up so nicely for our national member billing that like now that we're implementing it for other membership types, it's just copy and paste. Like, you know, now I'm playing around with like you know, more with the landing pages or the templates and things like that, but she did a fantastic job. So in terms of like, you know, suppression lists and all that, I'm like copy and paste, change the membership type, not going to do much more than that. So it does, you guys do make it very easy to at least implement, you know, the copying and pasting. So that's helpful.
I love to hear that. I love hearing it.
Yeah.
I'll definitely let Meg know that you said that. But I do think, you know, kind of on a wider note, like what you said, Kennedy, it's a heavier lift the first year you're in PropFuel because you're building everything from the ground up. But now we're just copying stuff. You know, it's kind of a set it and forget it at a certain point. So hopefully you're at that point now. Cool. Well, I'm going to stick around just for a few more minutes. I am always happy to give you all a few minutes back, but you know, stay behind if you have other questions. That's what I'm definitely here for.